like what you got. Maybe you're like, this is ass. I don't want this. Who knows? But whatever you're doing, thanks for listening to us. And for those of you on YouTube, Warchant TV, as it's known, good to see all of you again. Kind of a loosey-goosey couple of days here is what we're going to have here. So today will be that way to some extent. Just our casual conversation, a little let's get caught up. It's been a minute. And then tomorrow's show we're going to do in the morning and have that ready for you. But we'll have something fresh for the morning, but that's what we're going to do. And that's how it's going to work. How you doing, Tommy? Doing all right, buddy?
Oh, yeah, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I wanted to bring something up. A couple of things. Well, first of all, did you realize, just as an aside, that Baker Mayfield yesterday became the 5th player in NFL history with 350-plus passing yards, 5 TD passes, and 150-plus passer rating, and 80+% completion percentage in the same game? The others that have done it are Ben Roethlisberger, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady. Oddly, there was a moment in time where this guy was thought to be on that trajectory. Deshaun Watson's the other. Ooh. It's a toughie. So if you're a Cleveland fan today, you watched your team lose to Huntley and the Dolphins. It's hard to say. It's hard for me to even say. At home. And your quarterback situation isn't good. It's, 200+ million to Deshaun, who's not currently playing for you.
Well, it's a little less. Didn't he restructure and take a little less?
I don't remember. Did he?
I think he just did.
It ain't good. And then the guy that you let go after he played on an injured shoulder is now belonging to this club and is going to win the division in all likelihood. And the Bucs will go to the playoffs yet again. Should be noted, because certainly they're not discussed this way, but Tampa Bay, if they do in fact win next week, wins the division for the 4th consecutive year. It would also be the 5th consecutive playoff appearance for that franchise. 5 straight years into the playoffs. Just saying. You wouldn't know it. You wouldn't know it unless you're a Bucs fan. It's not talked about at all.
No, because in the last 3 years, your record would be a game or two over 500.
Right.
Screw them. That happens. There are comings and goings. If you're an AL Central fan, you understand what this is like. For most years, 84 wins will do it.
I'm just saying, like any franchise, wherever you play, like making it to the playoffs 5 consecutive years, however you do it. And the other thing is the Bucs win games in the playoffs. Like, they beat the Eagles' ass last year and put a real scare in Detroit. Another aside, the Bucs are the weirdest team in the NFL. Not just because they're our team and we love them.
Oh, yeah, there's danger this weekend.
Oh, they could lose that game. They're also capable of beating any team in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
You lose in overtime on the road against Kansas City, which if you hadn't had a coward for a head coach, you'd have gone for 2 and won the game. But anyhow, you had that happen. You did beat Philadelphia. You did beat Detroit in Detroit this year. You've pretty much been capable of beating all of the best teams in the league, but you're also capable of losing to anybody.
Oh, really laying an egg. So it'll be interesting if we can get this win this weekend, host a game, and you say, all right, I don't know what's going to happen. Could be anything.
Well, if you're one of these really good teams that has a chance to win the Super Bowl, so any of these teams, you'd throw them out there. I think that teams we think can win the Super Bowl. Philadelphia could win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Kansas City can win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo could win the Super Bowl. Minnesota could win the Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit, I don't know if I put them in there. They'll have to outscore everybody because they're so injury-riddled. But, yeah, they could win the Super Bowl. I guess I'll put them in there. Anybody else we think can win the Super Bowl?
I think Baltimore could win the Super Bowl.
Baltimore could win the Super Bowl. You're right. Absolutely. That's it. We're cutting it off there. So 6 teams can win the Super Bowl?
Oddly enough, if all of the chips and dominoes fell right, Cincinnati's playing good football lately. That's a really nice win over Denver. That's a really nice win.
Yeah, but they got to get there first.
No, and they need 3 things to happen.
They need a bunch of things to happen.
Boy, if they get in, that offense is humming.
Well, so the point of this, though, just to bring all this up, is not to disparage playoff teams or lift other playoff teams up. I would argue that the vast majority of the teams I just named really do not want to see the Bucs. that they're good enough to beat you because that offense is awesome.
Yeah, they're good enough to beat any one of those teams that could win the Super Bowl. It's hard to see them putting 4 in a row.
Correct. That's why we don't put them in the list.
Right,
the Bucs will not put 4 in a row together, but any one game against any one of those teams, that's the problem. You can lose to the Bucs very easily. They've got 2 really good running backs, an offensive line that is plus now, and a quarterback who's playing with extreme confidence, rising young receivers emerging, a superstar Hall of Fame receiver who's back fully healthy and beating people deep, tight ends off the freaking practice squad making catches left and right on critical third down. I mean, like, they're a problem. The Bucs are – this is why in the offseason, if you go out and get a defensive end in the draft or free agency or whatever you got to do, you could be really, really good next year, provided not every single member of your secondary is hurt again. Because every single member of the secondary is hurt.
And then when they're healthy, they're kind of cheeky a little bit.
They can be pretty average.
Cheekish.
Yeah. It's interesting.
In the ballpark of cheeks.
Dolphins are still alive after this weekend just played out. Well, NFL later. Let's go back to this. Let's go back to a little college. Let's go back to the mess of the bowl season. Let's go back to the mess that is college football. Because I didn't get a chance to talk to you about this. But I've been saying this for a while now. Now, I get not everybody in my audience gambles. Not everybody in my audience even likes gambling conversation, right? Some people are still of the mindset like, I really wish you didn't talk as much about gambling as you do. Even though it's omnipresent all over the world, right? Gambling it's been going on in Europe forever. And we knew it was a matter of time before it came to the States. And then it would be embraced, and then eventually it would be everywhere. And eventually it would sponsor the actual events that people bet on, which it does. Well, during the course of this conversation, I once said that if college football and the networks and the NCAA and these schools all are going to benefit from you, me, and the Joe Public insatiable appetite for being a sporting guy or gal, and you're going to take the money from a DraftKings, or you're going to take the money from a FanDuel, you're going to take the money from a Hard Rock, you're going to take the money from name all of the various gambling outfits.
BetMGM.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take the money
from Prize Picks,
then you kind of have to make sure you have up-to-date and accurate injury reports or participation, if you'd like to word it differently, as the NFL does. The NFL takes it very seriously. Coaches are fined. Organizations can be punished if you screw up multiple times and mislead or outright lie about your players' relative health. You could lose draft picks. I mean, like, you could seriously do long-term damage to your franchise. So that's how serious the NFL takes it. College football has got to figure this out. Because did you hear, because I certainly didn't, and nobody I know did, that Cam Ward was just going to up and sit out the second half of that football game? Now, I'm glad he did, and it's great that Miami lost, and it's awesome that they achieved nothing for their $20+ million investment into that roster this year. But, like, what the hell? If you were a gambler, I didn't lose money on that game because I bet the over, and it was over by halftime. So that was fine. But if you bet like 2 halves, or you bet a certain total, a certain number in terms of yardage or receipt, whatever it was, right? You'd kind of want to know whether or not Cam Ward was going to be playing. And this isn't the first situation. We've seen this with a lot of other games so far this bowl season, where some guys decide an hour before the game, I'm in the portal. I'm going to leave. I'm not going to play. Other guys are in the portal, but they are playing, and they don't know how much they're going to play. By the way, circling back to the Cam Ward thing, why did he play at all? If you're going to sit out a half because you're worried that you might get hurt, why'd you play a single down? That's crazy. Why did he play at all? The Pop-Tart Bowl? You're going to put your career on the line for the Pop-Tart Bowl. Well, he did it because he wanted to break the record. It's going to be a short-lived record in all likelihood, but that's why he did it. All of this looked very confusing to me. Mario Cristobal looked like a guy who wasn't aware of the agreement. Did you see the look on his face, that panicked, far away, that, dare I say, Mike Norvell look in second game of the year on the sideline, like, oh, God, we got nothing for BC sort of look? That was the look on Cristobal's face when he realized his starting quarterback wasn't going to play. And after the game, he was asked about it, and he said, I think all meetings with players and decisions like that, we make them in private, and we keep them in private. So I prefer not to answer questions as it relates to that. I know he played really well while he was out there. What? That's not even a real answer.
No, it means he didn't know.
He didn't know.
He didn't know it was coming.
Because if he knew it was coming, you would say something to protect the player. You make him look terrible. But also, you'd be sending messages to your roster that if you are going to make a decision like that in the future, I got you. I understand. This is an exhibition game. Don't waste potential 20, 30, 40, $50 million on the Pop-Tart Bowl against Iowa State. I got your back. You want to opt out? I understand. He didn't do that. All of this is crazy.
And not just for the betting services, but for your own fan base. You would make that very clear before the game kicked off that, this is going to be one half. It's a send-off.
Yeah.
We might play him into the second half. We'll see. But we're going to treat this drive by drive after the second quarter of the game. And everybody knows the deal coming into kickoff. Everybody gets it. No big deal. Because at that point, for your own fan base, losing your third game of the season, fourth game, whatever it is.
Yeah, third.
Sorry, I lost count.
They lost another bowl, more importantly,
right.
Which they never win those.
Yes, Bobby Bowden still has more bowl wins as a member of the ACC than Miami does.
Yes.
You wouldn't have a fan base running to the message boards to complain about you underachieving again. They would just say, well, this game was an exhibition no matter what. But they were bought in. They were having a good time. They forgot for a minute that the game was meaningless. And then they were reminded after Cam Ward said, this game is meaningless and I'm done.
All of it was bizarre. You wouldn't play.
And it came down to clock management at the end,
well,
which is,
every
beautiful.
game on television over the weekend, including last night's Atlanta, Washington.
Oh, buddy.
What are we doing out here? It's not hard. It is not a difficult thing. I'm glad they screwed it up, but I mean, it's bizarre to me.
Yeah, it started, at least in the games that I saw, with O'Connell, second quarter of yesterday's. It was the exact same thing.
And he's a great coach.
It was the exact same thing that Atlanta did in the first half last night. So I'm thinking, oh my God, twice in one day like this? You got to be kidding me. Because they were poised to maybe score a touchdown before halftime.
Yes.
Washington was on its heels. And then he does it again. So at least he's committed all the way into the I'm doing nothing thing.
The Bucs screwed up the first half against Carolina. Now, it didn't matter because they blew the doors off of Carolina and humiliated their former offensive coordinator, now head coach of the Carolina Panthers. But, watching us butcher the end of the first half with clock management and poor decisions in general. So I knew as soon as
coverage decision, yes.
Well, there's that, but also on first down, when you don't complete that pass, look, man, make them use their timeouts, be done with this, run the football and get into the half. The game's over. Don't screw this up now by giving them an extra possession here to turn this into potentially a 10-point game. I don't do it, but he does this kind of stuff all the time. I wish he would do it more even. I wish he'd keep doing it so we could fire him and make sure you keep Liam Cohen.
Well, you're chasing. You're chasing because you had a wide open throw on first down, and just because he dropped it doesn't mean you have to
keep throwing.
Yes, right.
Doesn't mean you have to keep throwing. It's stupid. But there are so many situations in college football right now that have your head swimming. Now, pro and college with coaches screwing up the games, ends of halves, ends of games. I got that.
There's a lot of money in that business. But how do we get in?
I'm telling you.
How do we get in?
It's just not even
Raheem,
hard.
Timeout. Kevin.
Call the timeout. What are you doing? And it's just not hard because you've done this your whole life. If you're a fan of the sport, you watch along and think like what the coach does, right? You think in your head. This is why we love it, because we guess, second guess, counter. Yeah, I agree with him. Nah, I wouldn't have done that. All this kind of stuff. We love to do that. But the most rudimentary of these exercises involve clock management. You know before you get the ball back on a given possession about what the clock's going to look like. Pretty close. Usually you can gauge it within reason. All right, second down, they're going to run another play here. Okay, another 25, 30 seconds come off the clock here. They're going to run that play. It'll take about 7 seconds. If they don't get the first, all right, I'm going to use the timeout here just before the 2-minute warning because there'll be enough time when I get the ball on the ensuing punt to still have a play run and benefit from the 2-minute warning and then have my other timeout. Okay, yeah, I'll do that. You've already thought it through. Like, that's how your brain works as you're watching a game. Like, okay, now's a good time to call this. Okay, No, because you know what? The 2-minute warning is going to happen when the punt happens either way, so don't waste it. Just, these things.
Or, it's 2 minutes and 4 seconds to go in the half. hey, you know what? I could sneak a run in here.
I
could call a
could
run.
easily
What's the
sneak a run,
difference?
yeah.
What's
Force
the throw it
that
over the middle? Everything's open here in this situation. We don't need to force it out of bounds.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. So, ironically, what would you do if you're the Philadelphia Eagles? Wouldn't you tell Saquon Barkley there's no way in hell you're playing this week?
He sounds cool with it, and I think they will. Saquon got out in front of it yesterday and you talk about getting out in front of it in the media.
That's how you do it.
And taking all the pressure off of everybody involved. He said, we'll see what the situation is next week. Would it be cool to have that record? Yes, but we have bigger things to attain.
Well, the reason I bring it up at all, for people that don't know, Philadelphia is already locked into the 2 seed. They cannot be anything other than the 2 seed. So there's no reason for them to play a single starter. In fact, I'd had practice squad guys everywhere. I mean, there's no reason to even care one way or the other about the result of that game. It doesn't change anything for you. So, and it's against the Giants. Now, look, he's 101 yards away from breaking the single season rushing record. First of all, I'd sit out because obviously, like you said, you have bigger fish to fry. But secondly, is it really? I mean, you did it in 17 games, not 16 games.
Certainly not 14 like OJ.
Yeah, certainly not. I mean, you can go back and, either way. I do think it's funny that Eric Dickerson was honest when he was asked the question about whether or not he wants him to break. He was, hell no.
He's always been that way.
Yeah.
I remember Chris Johnson years ago was threatening the record.
Yeah.
Tennessee's Chris Johnson, and he was not happy about it. And they had him on during the broadcast of the game.
Yeah, it's funny to me. I like when guys are honest that way. No, I'd like to keep the record. It's great. So there's no way you'd play locked in as a 2 seed. He needs 101 yards. But it's funny because I heard one guy say, oh, maybe you play him in the first half. The Giants are terrible. He can amass 100 yards in the first. No, what's the point? You get hurt either way. That's why I go back to this Ward situation. If you're trying to protect yourself, why'd you play a single snap in the Pop-Tarts Bowl?
If it's for the record, then that's a red flag for me, man, in terms of as a professional franchise. I said this, I'll be consistent about it. We had a leadoff hitter for years, Jose Reyes, who was excellent and a really fun player to watch. Hit one down in the gap. You watch that guy run, he'd get from home plate to third in 14 seconds. I mean, he flew. He had the batting title against Ryan Braun, also another model citizen, in his grasp. He leads off game 162, drops down a bunt. It's a base hit, and he takes himself out of the game because then Braun would have to go 4 for 4.
Right.
Either play or don't, Jose. That is such chicken. That is such chicken. I might allow for it in the final turn of at bat. Maybe you've had 3 and you want to say, wave to the crowd because they're not going to the playoffs. We weren't going to the playoffs that year. First at bat, drops down a bunt. I mean, this is maybe the first or second pitch in the bottom half of the first inning, and then he's done for the day. That is such chicken stuff, man. So in the same spirit here, you're going to play in the Pop-Tarts Bowl to break a... No, then you're not even playing for your team. You're not even playing for your teammates. You're playing for your name in a book. Not a great message.
That won't affect his draft. But I would tell you, I get what you're saying. I do vaguely.
Well, what if we're in a Saquon Barkley situation with him and he's going to break a record,
right?
And you're locked into the 2 seed. Is he going to demand to play? Hey, man, I don't need that stuff behind the scenes.
I don't either. I'll just say this. I remember Bill Polian used to get so mad. He would always say when he was interviewed on SiriusXM or any show, when these players started missing bowl games, he was livid, And I remember once Leonard Fournette didn't play in one of the bowl games for LSU, and he was like, "Well, I promise you, NFL teams are going to hold that against him." Oh, really, Bill? I think he went 8th overall. It didn't hold him against him at all.
Well, what I'm saying is if you're looking at the case between Cam and Shador, Cam and another quarterback, and you're saying, well, this guy might go rogue in a certain situation where if we're down the stretch of a game and he wants to get his 300 yards, he might call out of a run. Like, you got to check in on that stuff because that's what this indicates. This is different than a straight opt-out. This is I'm opting in to get mine, and then I'll opt out when I'm comfortable.
Credit to Shador, by the way, and to Hunter, both of whom played. In fact, all of Colorado's starters played.
Yeah.
Got their ass beat.
They did.
Dominated by BYU. They were uncompetitive, but they did play. Credit to them. I guess. I don't know that I would. to be honest with you. I've said this. I've been consistent with this, too. Once the bowls became glorified exhibitions, unless you're in a playoff game, they don't mean anything. We know that.
They always were, personally.
But back in the day, Tom, there was meaning to a Cotton Bowl victory. There was meaning to an Orange Bowl victory. When
you got a trophy, it wasn't a national championship trophy, but you got one.
Not just that. I mean, you use those as markers of the kind of season you had. If you were invited to the Orange Bowl or the Rose Bowl or something like that, the Fiesta Bowl years later, it was a big deal. And then there were tiers to that, obviously. The Outback Bowl was a bigger bowl than, say, the Music City Bowl, but you understood.
Sure.
Yeah, but I understand.
Blockbuster Bowl, the Gator Bowl, sure.
I think all of us kind of miss elements of that system. Now, I don't miss the way that it used to be because in 1984, that aforementioned BYU squad won the national championship playing a terrible Michigan team because the bowl setup was screwed up. You could have number 2 playing number 9. Number 1 could be playing number 6, trying to hold on to the national championship that they're about to win. You know, like that kind of bizarre stuff did happen the way that it used to be. But I do think moving forward, it is going to be interesting to see, if this whole postseason, this bowl season that we're watching, this playoff and the bowls, how convoluted and how, I guess to many, off-putting is another way of describing what we've seen in the postseason. Because there's no rhyme nor reason. Oklahoma had 54 players for their game. 54.
In a lot of ways, buddy, you're better off creating the bowl berth, quote unquote, if it's not going to be any high caliber bowl, just moving into the spring and allowing the spring rosters to compete against each other.
Love this. And it's something we should talk about. I talked about this yesterday with a friend of mine. That exact same thing, buddy. That exact same thing. Like, move those games to the spring because we hate spring games. They're useless now. They're showcases. Nobody does anything. You sit around and watch dudes practice special teams.
And it would be what Cam Ward did yesterday. The starters would play for a half, or he did in the bowl over the weekend, the Pop-Tarts Bowl. He'd play for a half, but then you'd get your freshmen in there, and it doesn't count against eligibility. Yeah, you could stagger this thing, but you play full contact. It's full go.
Unfortunately, we do have something Florida State related to discuss that isn't pleasant, and it has much to do with the NIL era and compensation or a lack thereof. And one of my favorite people, Leonard Hamilton, is not looking good today in lieu of this report of Ross Dellinger's, and certainly something we heard whispers of a year ago. We'll talk about that next. Jeff Cameron, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
It's holiday shopping season, and as usual, there's a lot of new Apple gear out there. But before you buy that Apple Watch or new iPhone, stop by Mac & More Systems. The experts at Mac & More will help you make the right decisions to ensure all of your devices work together properly. That Apple Watch might not work with the previous generation iPhone, and there is no one I trust more for advice, sales, and support for all of my Apple devices more than Mac & More Systems. Call them today, 894-3622, or visit them online at macandmoresystems.com.
Ain't nothing but a G-Pod, baby.
I am 99% sure that is not how the lyrics go.
Well, you like remixes, right?
Of course.
Well, think of this as a Grassroots Coffee remix per se, because Grassroots Coffee is now in the single-serve coffee pod game.
Dude, those single-serve coffee pods and cups are weak sauce.
Not Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. They have more coffee in them than regular single-serve pods and cups.
Seriously?
And not only do they have more coffee, they have a built-in filter for better brewing. They fit in most Keurig machines, and they are fully compostable.
It's still the small batch, slow roasted coffee you love, so go to grassrootscoffee.com and get your box of G-Pods today.
Baby.
See? Remix!
Well, actually, that's more of an homage.
Grassroots Coffee, locally owned, locally roasted, and made for everyone, loved everywhere.
Grassroots Coffee G-Pods. So very good.
Hey, let me tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the Battle's End. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
In 1788, Robert Burns wrote a poem to herald the coming of the new year and set the lyrics to an old Scottish tune. The little song became quite popular as the words recalled the days gone by, bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new. Band leader Guy Lombardo is often credited with popularizing the use of the song at New Year's celebrations in America. Through his annual broadcasts on radio and television beginning in 1929, the song became his trademark. This New Year's Eve, millions will gather across the world in celebration and at the stroke of midnight, join together in singing Auld Lang Syne.
Wishing you all the best in the new year from Glass Pro Shop, built upon a history of excellence. Online at glassproshop.com or call 850-575-7403. Sellers on Capitol Circle Northeast in Tallahassee for tile, carpet, hardwood, and luxury vinyl. Online at sellers.com or call 850-656-8453.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Rolling on this Monday, the last Monday of 2024. And tomorrow we'll roll on with the last Tuesday of 2024. Tom is celebrating the end of 2024. Me too. I think all Noles, for a variety of reasons, are going to be celebrating the end of 2024.
Like a Mastromano punt. Just get it out of here.
Get out of here. Get out of here, 2024. What you looking forward to in 2025? A run game?
Oh, yeah. I feel pretty good about our running game.
Competent
New offensive linemen.
zone defense?
You know, just new people. I think new people being in the rotation. I'm happy about that. You could talk about the coaches, and I'm not trying to harp on the players because they all, the usual suspects, all had good games or good seasons in the course of their Florida State careers. Maurice Smith was a hero in 2023. Darius Washington was all conference 2023. Robert Scott, when healthy, was a good tackle, but it was the same guys for years and years and years. It felt like they were senators. They're just around forever.
Term limits did not apply to our center position.
My God. My God. So all these new guys in the mix, I'm looking forward to seeing what they're about. Yeah, buddy. The implementation of the plan. That's what I'm looking forward to seeing. Spring camp for that reason. I know you often say once we get through a week of spring camp, spring's never good. Man, I really want to see how the message changes and is tweaked.
I want to see how practice is tweaked. I want to see the level of physicality raised. I think we will. Obviously, we're going to be implementing 2 brand new schemes. So, yes, I'm some of them, there's a semblance of the one scheme on offense that Mike has run, but it is still different in other ways. And then, obviously, a completely new defense. And I am excited to see that side of the ball coached differently. There have been, obviously, you don't just lose your defensive coordinator. You also saw Odell retire in essence. And, you've got Randy shown the door. Those are all good things. So there's a lot of changes on that side of the ball that I'm excited about. Hey, I'm excited that the Battle's End has gone out and helped us get 4 new offensive linemen. That's a good thing. It's a good time to bring this up because the latest story does not include the Battle's End. No, the Battle's End is competent, does good work, whereas Rising Spear has failed miserably and shouldn't exist, quite frankly. But here you are. 6 former Florida State players file a lawsuit against Coach Leonard Hamilton over NIL compensation. I imagine that'll expand to include others, including the university, as this goes on, because they're going to get their money. This was ridiculous. And we had heard these rumors before the Duke game a year ago that there had been a boycott of sorts, that players had walked out of practice before they played Duke. The rumors at that time were that it might have been about compensation. It might have been about money and frustration about promises made. Now, that was never confirmed, could never get that confirmed.
Correct.
That was held pretty tight to the vest. Nobody, certainly within the basketball organization, was going to talk about it. And the players were careful to some extent. Now, they did play against Duke, and they lost that game, if memory serves, by 10 or 11, whatever it was. And then weeks later, you kind of heard, can we get confirmation that there was like an actual walkout of practice? And depending on who you talk to, that was either completely denied or absolutely agreed that it happened. This is the story as of now, and then I'll give you my commentary. 6 former Florida State basketball players filed a lawsuit today against Leonard Hamilton over unpaid promises of NIL compensation that total $1.5 million, and acknowledged within the documents that they boycotted a practice last season over said missed payments. So there's confirmation. There's that. This is Ross Dellinger's story, Yahoo Sports. The legal complaint filed here in Leon County is unprecedented, writes Dellinger, and fascinating in the era of athlete compensation, as roughly half of a former team takes claims against one of college basketball's most well-respected coaches. And those 6 plaintiffs are Darren Green Jr., Josh Nickelberry, Primo Spears, Cameron Fletcher, Deontay Green, and Jalen Worley. And they say that basically, I'm going to get to the point here, that Hamilton had told them, look, I've got business partners. We're going to get you NIL money. It's going to be in the neighborhood of $250,000. And then when that money didn't come their way, they began to get antsy, frustrated, and they kept asking Leonard about this. Well, where's the money? What's going on? You promised us NIL money. We don't have the NIL money. Many of us came here because of the promise of this NIL money. We had other offers, but we chose to come to Florida State because of this NIL money, and we don't have it. Leonard at that time said, it's coming. Business partners have promised it's coming. You're going to get it. You're going to get it. Long story short, they never got it. And there are all kinds of text exchanges between players and Will Cowan and others, coupled with Leonard, where they're asking about this payment and where is it and what's happening. And the first thing I want to say is I hate this for Leonard Hamilton. He's a man of high character. And my suspicion is he has no idea how to navigate NIL. He has no idea how to navigate this new day and age. It's why he shouldn't still be coaching here at Florida State at 76. This is an era that is not something older coaches, and we've seen this in both football and basketball now, are going to do a good job of navigating. There are exceptions, but for the most part, your older coaches are going to have a very hard time with this.
Larinaga just called it a day last week.
Just last week in the middle of a season. And he had a bankroll. I mean, I thought it was rich of him to complain about the NIL era when he was given a rather sizable bankroll for that entire roster.
Yeah, it wasn't a grease board that got him to the Final Four.
That's right. So that was interesting to me, but nonetheless, navigating that was too much. And you're seeing this with lots of coaches. You know, we just got done talking a couple weeks ago. Wake Forest football coach says, I'm out.
Good old Dave Clawson.
And, you know, Clawson is not even in his 60s. And he's like, guys, I can't. This is, in essence, F this is what he said. I'm out. And he's been really successful given what Wake's expectations are. You're seeing this across the board. I'll repeat. I hate this for Leonard because I have a suspicion that in his efforts to try to navigate this era, he was told something. I'm guessing this is my theory. I don't know this to be true, but Leonard is a man of character who has done countless wonderful things for the young men that have come through his program and people outside the program. And there are things that he's done that nobody will ever hear about to help these young men. So I know that this was not born out of Leonard lying to kids intentionally and then screwing them over, hoping that he could get Gerald Worley to play for another game like that, or Darren Green, or Jalen, whatever the hell. All right. So I don't think, right. He sucked, but I don't.
Gerald Worley would look a little bit different on the court.
Yes, he would. But nonetheless, Gerald, what I do think happened is that he thought there was money to be paid via NIL from somebody or some entity, some group, and he was sure it was going to happen, and it never did. And he got himself into a bind. Coaches are not even allowed to make these promises anymore, in part because you don't want situations like this happening, where a coach is told by somebody, perhaps in this case, a business partner or friend or Rising Spear or whomever, okay?
I would protect yourself on that one. Just it could be the collective. It could be a personal friend.
Could be whoever, all right? So, he was told, I'm sure, that this was going to happen, and then it just never did. It never happened. The money never came in. And now he's stuck because he's made these promises, and he can't keep them. And there's no good way for this to end. The only way this is going to end is how it ended today, which is Florida State looks stupid. Florida State looks stupid. Leonard looks bad. I could say more, but that is all of this looks terrible, and it's not a good look for Mike Alford either.
Well, it's not a good look for Rising Spear because they were tied to an issue where they had to disassociate with Florida State in terms of public front-facing things just last year. So, yeah, it seems like a strike too. The one thing I would say, just to protect the precision of the legalities, for again and the allegations, they didn't sue Rising Spear. They're suing Leonard.
Yeah, personally, I found that interesting and odd.
But I think that just to protect ourselves about where promises were made, whether it was from a collective or whether it was from a person.
Well,
I
would encourage everybody to read the entire story. All right, go read that entire story.
The 20-page court document. Yes.
Yeah. Go read that. Also, go read the Yahoo Sports story. There's plenty of. Yeah, you're right. I'll protect myself, but Tom, come on. We know. They butchered this. And Florida State is routinely looking stupid.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Oh, that is beyond reproach.
And it goes across tenures. It's unbelievable. It's unreal how frequently this happens. I've thought for a while now, and I've been hinting at this on the air, that, man, it starts with, let's say, a coach, and people get mad at the coach. Then it starts to go up the ladder a little bit. Maybe other coaches and perhaps administrators. And then eventually somebody's at the front door knocking at the athletic director's office, asking the hows and whys of Florida State's predicaments. And I just feel like as the weeks and months have been drawn on, we continue to have reason to go, are we well run over there? We got everything buttoned up over there. Dotted I's, crossed T's. Everything seems to be, a sensible progression with the athletic department over there and their efforts and their goals and the things that they're trying to do. Doesn't look like it. Seems a little bit like the landscape as a whole. A bit chaotic to me. And I hate this time it entangles a good man. But I think Leonard should have stepped down some time ago, a couple of years ago. We saw the writing on the wall. I hate that he got screwed because of COVID, like so many people did, but in particular, that team, that program, those kids, that coaching staff, they had put together through really hard work one hell of a team that had a real shot to win a national championship or go to the Final Four and never got to do it. And then the rug was pulled out from under, because right after that is where we begin to see the landscape of college basketball and college football change completely. And what once was no longer existed, and now you are part of a program. Now, if you're Leonard, you're part of a program that has no real substantial NIL budget to compete with programs that care about college basketball first and foremost. Like, he was doing that. He was competing at the highest level. He was winning, won the conference, was finishing in the top 4 of the conference annually with all of the old ways, right? And now that's not how it's done. And I don't think at 76 he has a clue how to do this.
Yeah, well, he also got Florida State back to relevance with NBA talent with his 2.0 of his tenure.
Yeah.
I mean, look, man, you don't get there without dipping your hands into some ugly waters.
Oh, I'm sure.
You don't recruit at that level.
Yeah, you do whatever you got to do.
You do yes. And he was one of the most feared head coaches on the trail, not named the Caliparis and Coach Kaisley.
Right.
Oh man, Leonard's in on this guy. Great. So he got Florida State to relevance there. I agree with you 100%. He's a good dude. He doesn't turn his back on people. No. He never has. He's welcomed people back into the program after perhaps they've turned their back on him.
Right.
And we've heard those stories behind the scenes. It's just in this case, this is a different era. You're right. And he lamented it on the record as it was happening. He said, I misjudged when he was trying to bring in transfers. I misjudged what it was going to be about.
What it was going to be about. Exactly.
And for those who are asking, I've seen this on the boards today on the Travel Council, $250,000. It is ridiculously expensive to field a competitive basketball roster. It is ridiculously expensive. If you think college football numbers are nuts, again, scarcity. There are so few big-time talents, and your roster is so much smaller.
So much smaller.
It costs a lot.
Well, one elite player can change an entire program.
Correct.
One elite player.
And he can cost millions of dollars,
Yeah.
more than a quarterback would.
Yeah.
More than a quarterback
That's
would
hard to
by
believe.
a mile. It's
Yeah.
hard to believe, but it's true. And that's why behind the scenes, people have been saying, and we've been hinting, like, man, you think it's expensive for football. It is so inefficient. The money you must spend on basketball for the return on investment that you would get in basketball. TV revenues, the gate, exposure. That's not where you want to throw the money. If all dollars are equal, you got to throw it to football because you get ROI there. Big time. Basketball is more of a luxury.
I'm going to be very curious how this all plays out. We know that basically this has been a mess, a convoluted mess, talking about what is now considered the revenue sharing era. And there's just no parameters. And so, that a lot of people believe that in July, the house money will come in and that you'll be able to pay your athletes out of a pool of $20.5 million, as I understand it. You talk to people in this business and they'll tell you they don't think that timeline is accurate, which is going to cause a whole new subset of problems that people are spending as if they have the $20.5 million already. They believe it's coming in July. But when it doesn't, you're going to see lots of shady stories and lawsuits. And
this is why they should have run into the arms of unionization, and they will.
Well, they have to make them employees at some point.
New Year's Eve, 2 years from now, we'll probably be talking about, well, they finally did it. Here we go.
You got to make them employees, contracts, and you got to set it up so that, by the way, when we sit down to watch bowl games, you don't find out that somebody's got 40 players missing. It's not good for the sport, period. It's crazy.
You know what this is going to do is once they do have contracts, it's going to reform nationally the idea of non-competes. I'm telling you, it's going to. Because that's what we're doing on a network level right now with the ACC. We're trying to say the enforceability of their penalties. You're going to get that in college sports because kids are still going to leave and they're going to say, I should play right away. What is it? You're going to hold me to a non-compete?
Well, you're already seeing in the collective world, by the way, I know for a fact all around the country that kids have announced they're leaving. They had NIL money coming in, whatever the deal was for them. Let's say, whatever, you stand outside a burger joint and you get, this is how you're getting your $700,000 or whatever. We all know that's a sham, but and then they still want their money, which is, you talk about a pipe dream. Like, what are you talking about? So you're no longer affiliated with the university, but you want NIL money from the university or from the collective. while you go to another school. Like their kids say, I want my money. And the collectives are going, no, man, we now have contracts. This is how contracts work. You don't get your money if you're not affiliated with FSU anymore or whatever school you're at, to use the example. But there are kids and their friends and family and hangers-on that are saying to these collectives, no, but we had a collective, we had a deal. You're to pay me through 2025. Yeah, as long as you're representing Florida State or whomever the school is in this case, right? These kids and like some deadbeat uncle are like, hey, where's our $10,000 this month? Yeah, well, you withdrew from the school. You're transferring. You're not getting the money.
I wore my Battle's End quarter zip to my press conference on Thursday in L.A. Pay me.
Yeah, that's classic. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The Waukesha County Sheriff's Office confirmed that fatal gunfire in South Choppy last Saturday was a result of an officer-involved shooting. Ollie Denson Rogers, 62, was shot and killed after an hours-long standoff with WCSO in the Leon County Sheriff's Office. WCSO said they couldn't release any details about the circumstances leading to the fatal incident because the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is investigating the use of force. More details will be released as they become available. FDLE is often called to investigate officer-involved shootings for local agencies at their request. WCSO initially responded to a call for service regarding a female armed with a handgun and making suicidal threats. When deputies arrived, the female fired a long gun into the air and retreated back into the home. The armed woman had barricaded herself in a home on the 300 block of Harms Road, prompting the call to LCSO for help. This is Rachel Lene with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Ample sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 72. Winds out of the southeast around 5 miles per hour. Lows level off around 54 tonight. Overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 76 tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by The Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 70 degrees.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds.
There's like, families. There's different families. And,
so there's if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch.
Or the Yeti, right?
Yeah,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape. And, I've
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
But I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe in
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Favorite bowl game? Have you watched a single bowl game?
Ooh. Outside of the playoffs? I don't know. I was on and off on the Pop-Tarts Bowl. On and off.
No, it was an exciting game. I mean, no defense was played in that first half.
I've watched a lot more NFL, to be honest. The Denver-Cincinnati game was outstanding on Saturday.
Yes.
I'm not sure that Mims caught either of those touchdowns for Denver. As much as we don't want to over-legislate catches, if you watch those replays to their completion, I'm not sure either of them were actually in control.
It's because what they called on the field, they couldn't overturn. He's obviously moving the ball up against his leg as they're sliding out of bounds.
That's the second one.
That's
yes.
the second. Well, that's the most important one, because that was on fourth down and the game was on the line. Yes.
That one, I don't know that he has it secured there, but at any rate, that game was riveting. Yesterday's finish to the Minnesota Green Bay game was
crazy.
riveting.
It was a bizarre ending. They dominated. Minnesota dominated the game.
Yeah.
Hey, I got to say, the Sam Darnold story is awesome. And that reaction after the game in the locker room tells you that those players love his ass.
And that's a bit of a problem for Minnesota, because the asking price is going to be, I think,
formidable.
Well, it will be formidable. I think that's too much money. You're talking about $40 or $50 million.
You can franchise tag him.
You could do that.
I think they'll franchise tag him and let McCarthy or whatever. JJ be the backup for next year.
Because you could argue it's the system and, of course, the skill position players. But the other part of it is he made some big time throws yesterday.
Well, Tom, a week ago he threw for 340 plus yards, and he threw for 377 yesterday against one of the league's better defenses.
I hear you, 100%.
Yeah.
And Naylor was one of the key players yesterday for them in that win. But we've seen where Kirk Cousins has been trending. Right?
Well, he looks shot, though. I think something's wrong with Kirk Cousins.
He had some of those moments in Minnesota, and yet they would produce. Man, that system is outstanding. So do you really want to spend $45 million on a quarterback like that? Or do you want to spend, at the rookie contract level and then just go make your roster a world beater and bet on O'Connell's brain?
Well, I would say this. If Minnesota, who's one of those teams that could actually, did we include them?
Yes, we included them.
If Minnesota wins the Super Bowl, you're going to give up on the quarterback?
No, at that point, it's already gravy. At that point, you do pay his ass because it's gravy.
Yeah, I think they're going to pay his ass either way. And just think about this. The Carolina Panthers had both he and Baker on the roster at the same time. At the same time. Hour number 2, fourth coming. Stay with.
TSC Tuesdays, every Tuesday morning at 7:30 a.m. during the Greg Tish Show. Find out what's happening at Tallahassee State College every Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. on Real Talk 93.3 FM.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential, but finding those people can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology identifies candidates with the right skills, sends you great matches, then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Palmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
It was a good day for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. They beat the Panthers 48-14. Buccaneers go to 9-7. And then in overtime, the Falcons lose to Washington 30-24. Atlanta drops to 8-8, and the Buccaneers are now minus 1,300 favorites to win the NFC South. The Falcons pay out at plus 800. The Buccaneers are going to wrap up the regular season this upcoming Sunday when they play host to the Saints. Tampa Bay is opened up as a 14-point favorite. Also on Sunday, the Colts are a 5.5-point favorite against the Jaguars, and the Dolphins are 2.5-point favorites on the road against the Jets. A $250 bonus when you open a GBank Visa signature card. Visa.com/GBank. Terms apply. I'm Matt Pauley. This has been your action update on Tallahassee's Real Talk station, Real Talk 93.3.
Experience the time of your life at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Live it up with the world's largest sports book, Circa Sports. Get loose and get loud with all sports, all seasons at Stadium Swim. Take in the $1 million views at our rooftop lounge, Legacy Club. Go big and go all night with our luxurious rooms and suites. Book the time of your life today at circalasvegas.com. Elevate your swim game at Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas. Featuring the best pool in history, Stadium Swim. 3 levels, 6 pools, and a 143-foot diagonal screen. It's 365 days of fun in the sun. With all sports, all seasons. Stadium Swim. Located at Circa Resort and Casino. Book today at circalasvegas.com.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
Oh, whoa! Check out Pinch a Penny. We're stocked to the rafters with Hot Spring Spas, a recognized leader. Imagine the fun of the holidays with warmth, relaxation, and lovely bubbles. And with 30 home spas for you to see right now. Affordable right now, too. Up to $2,000 off. Or special financing. Ask for details. Is the world stressing you out like that? Now, to assure these prices, Pinch a Penny, open 7 days a week on Career Road.
Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball, your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com. Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
whatever it is you and yours celebrate. Happy. As we get set for the new year, another show tomorrow off Wednesday for certain, obviously. I do wish at my age, I don't try to speed up time all that often, but I would like to race to the finish line of the current state of affairs in college football. I'd like to get to where this is all remedied. At some point it will be, that it will. How? Well, it's up for debate. Everybody's got an opinion, but within a year or two, we'll see some semblance of order in all of this. But in the interim, it makes for a tough time for the average college football fan to take in what is kind of ugly. I mean, for college football, it's not a good look to have, thousands of people enter the portal at the end of the season across the sport as a whole, right? And then have the ability to unlimitedly do that.
That's another reason why moving bowl games to the spring would be a good idea, because it takes pressure off of trying to do three things at once for coaching staffs. You're trying to fill rosters while you're losing guys left and right, especially if you're in those lower tier bowls. It feeds on itself. By definition, if you're not an FCS program or a program that's already on a rebuild and you're playing in Shreveport or you're playing in
the Shreve,
right, the Boca Bowl or the Pop-Tarts Bowl. I know the Pop-Tarts is kind of upper crust, but I kid.
It's a good bowl.
You, by definition, are going to have kids leaving because you had a disappointing season. They don't want to be a part of it anymore. So it's not the reward. The bowl used to be the reward. That
was
the
a
term.
Great reward, actually.
This is your reward, is the bowl game. And there ain't no reward. The reward's already been paid.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. To find a way to value those again is to have, for what it is, a glorified scrimmage. The NFL, you watch the scrimmages that they, like the Rams will scrimmage against the Raiders or something like that. And it'll be set up in advance. We're 10 days out or 10 days into our first camp. We're going to have a scrimmage. And they'll even do situational stuff too, like you would in a spring game. I think fans would, I get excited about the spring game because it's a chance to see friends and family that come into town. But the game itself stopped being interesting years ago. Once they stopped playing actual games where the Garnet faced the Gold and it was a game, like you're like, oh, here we go. Who's the quarterback for the Garnet? Okay, got it. Yeah, all right. You divvy up the rosters, you'd look at it, it would be fun. That stopped a long time ago, and now it's a useless thing. It doesn't. You go just because it's an event to see friends, but it's not because of the football. And yeah, there might be a player or two that you want to watch. I would love.
That's where the Pop-Tarts Bowl gets it. Let us lean into the sideshow. Must be the person who the Savannah Bananas might be running the Pop-Tarts Bowl because it's brilliant. It's really smart. You have to make it a sideshow to make people tune in now.
Yeah, there have been a couple really good bowl games where if you happen to recognize that both teams cared, usually you can tell early on. First of all you got to do is look at the participation chart. Who's playing? Is this team, BYU cared to be there. Colorado cared to be there. Those two teams pretty much in their entirety played their starters. They felt that game mattered. And so, again, BYU stomped that ass, but you realize that it was an actual game. And there have been a few like that where you go, oh, they care. They're there. Okay, good. All right. We're all in. All right. Some of them right at the beginning, they're like, well, of course, they're down to their fourth string quarterback. He was a walk-on. Okay.
Well, it was essentially the Browns and Dolphins game yesterday.
Yeah.
You don't have either quarterback. It is for Myles Garrett. He cared because he wanted to be the first player in history to have 14 sacks or more, I think in 5 straight seasons, whatever the hell that stat was.
And that's who the Bucs should trade for.
Absolutely. I had it on Red Zone yesterday for the afternoon window. Sorry, the 4 o'clock window is what I mean, because there were only 2 games. Perfect time for Red Zone. Never any commercials, and if you watch one game, you realize how many commercials the NFL pump at you.
Oof.
But if you get 2, you never miss a thing from either game. But that was it. You get a couple of defensive lines that had their guys. Tyreek Hill played, and he went over 100 yards. Otherwise, it is a preseason game that you were watching yesterday, and that's what you have to think about when you're tuning into a bowl game. This is preseason. I'm going to get to maybe watch a couple of freshmen I really want to see play. But that's how you find joy in a bowl game. It used to be our best versus their best for decades.
Yeah, you'll get a bunch of games that don't matter this next week in the NFL, by the way, but you also have a couple that you can get really excited about. Like the Vikings control their NFC North. Obviously, they beat the Packers, I should say, and then it sets up that winner-take-all showdown against Detroit now. for first place in the NFC, which is really cool to have a game like that.
So Detroit should sit all of their players tonight, right?
I would.
They should sit many of them. This game doesn't matter at all.
This game doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form. That is correct. Yeah, it's a tough game to bet on because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, the number I think was Detroit -2.5. I think Vegas understands.
I don't even. Yeah.
Why would I play a short week for a winner take all? I mean,
no, you wouldn't. You wouldn't do it.
It's not important.
You wouldn't do it. The Dolphins had to have a bunch of things happen, including winning their game, and they did. But they're still alive. They're still mathematically in it. The Broncos lost. The Colts somehow lost to the Giants. Jesus. If I'm a Giants fan today, what are you all doing? You had the first pick in the draft. You just screwed it all up.
I don't know the way Indianapolis played on defense. I don't know that there's anything the Giants could have done to not score. Speaking as somebody who might have streamed the Colts defense this weekend, thinking, well, they're tanking. The Giants are tanking. This is an easy 15 fantasy points.
Ouch.
How about a -4?
Yeah.
Oh, my
They're
God.
getting roasted by the Giants.
They hadn't scored 40-plus points in the regular season since Daniel Jones' rookie year.
The things you learned.
Oh, I learned.
Yeah, it's a toughie. There are some games that will matter, but anyhow, I think it's pretty interesting. If they beat, so here's how it works. After Miami beat Cleveland, and the aforementioned occurred, you're a Dolphins fan listening to this. If you beat the New York Jets, who have pretty much quit, and if the Kansas City Chiefs, and then here's your problem. If the Kansas City Chiefs, who are 15-1, beat Denver, Miami will clinch its third consecutive postseason berth, coming back from 4-8 to do so. That would be really impressive, but I doubt the Kansas City Chiefs play a single starter. Denver has to win, and Kansas City doesn't have to play anybody. So my sense is that they won't play anybody, and Denver will win. And thus Miami will not be going.
Is Chad Henne still their backup?
To the playoffs.
Maybe he goes nuts. Chad Henne, Justin Watson.
So that's what is likely to happen for you. Obviously, the Bucs got what they needed last night. It was stressful. If you're a Falcons fan, the disappointment of losing that game, obviously, that is pretty tough to swallow.
Oh, it's Carson Wentz. Anyway.
Pretty tough to swallow that loss, but that's because of what it means. But that said, if I'm a Falcons fan today, I like what I see in my rookie quarterback. I am very pleased because that game, for all intents and purposes, was a playoff game on the road. That atmosphere was intense, and there were pressure-packed moments left and right. And that kid Penix made throw after throw, fourth down throws. He made big play after big play. In his second career start, he's going to be a problem in this division, Tom. I'm a little upset about it. I like Penix, but I'm a little upset that it's pretty obvious he can play.
Well, I think he rolled his head coach in the postgame yesterday.
He should have.
He was asked about timeouts. He says, well, we trust Coach. We trust Coach to make those calls in those situations.
Yeah.
We know he's going to put us in the best position.
Except for he's not.
Yeah.
He's not going to put you in the best position. He's going to butcher this like so many other coaches do. Yeah. It's not just him, but man.
Maybe that happens again next year. He gets so disgruntled he requests a trade. I mean, it could be. Could be.
Maybe he just takes it upon himself and calls the timeout.
You're allowed to do that as a quarterback.
I'm telling you now, man. It's unbelievable how frequently this occurs. But Bengals and Dolphins are mathematically still alive. And the Giants just cost themselves the first pick. And the Jags, what are you doing? What are you guys out here doing winning games? Get a grip. Although most will tell you this is not a year that a lot of, from what I've read of scouts and stuff you hear on the NFL Network and that kind of stuff, this isn't viewed as a great offensive draft. It's a defensive draft all the way through. It is littered with great defensive linemen, great linebackers and safeties, plenty of corners, very good defensive personnel in this draft. Whereas a lot of people are like, if you need a quarterback, I personally, if it was between Cam Ward and Shador, I'd go Shador. but I don't.
It's a 30-minute game. I might go Cam, but it's a 60-minute game. So I think I might go with Shedeur.
I think a lot of people are saying either way. Not in love with the quarterbacks coming out this year. Not in love. But I've learned to take that with a grain of salt too, because we now know that you and I and everybody else out there who has an opinion about a quarterback stand about a 50-50 chance of being right. And oh, by the way, that includes GMs because they get it wrong all the time.
Best case scenario, 55% for a tackle, 60% for a center. That's it.
Well, and that's why when in doubt, if you're uncertain about a player and you don't love his skill set at that position or any skill position for that matter, I always say to you, what? Just draft the lineman. We got a good chance that player will be good. We just did that. And our center is very good. That was the right pick. He's good in year one. Go back a little bit. Wirfs, when we were talking about what other players, just take the offensive lineman from Iowa. When in doubt, always take an offensive lineman from Iowa. We did. He's a Pro Bowler every year. Great pick. Just keep picking offensive and defensive linemen. Offensive linemen in particular.
You don't even have to worry about draft coverage at all. Just if you show up there and you hear your team with the 17th pick takes Tiny Ontario, offensive tackle, Wisconsin. You're like, Tiny Ontario? This guy, let me guess, 6'7", 340? There he is.
Well, hell, if Homeboy didn't retire, we'd have the best offensive line in the league.
Oh, Marpet?
Yes.
Yeah,
Allie just decides, peace out after a few years, wins the championship, says, I'm out.
Look at me. I'm 170 pounds and healthy now.
Freaking Allie Marpet.
Come on, put your body at risk.
Jason Light deserves a lot of credit for that one.
Yeah.
Like, where are we drafting this kid from and why?
Was that Hobart?
Hobart College. That also shows you that if you can play, they're going to find you. You can play anywhere. If you can play at a level that high, then they're going to be found.
Well, yeah, we need one of his lieutenants to come here for Florida State so we can find the guy at Hobart when he's a sophomore. So that instead of Hobart being what people hear on draft day, they hear Florida State University.
I just saw where one of the coaches, and this is you can't exist in this era if you can't handle that this is happening. Jim Mora, who is coaching at UConn, is now threatening coaches who he says are tampering with his roster. Yeah. Everybody is tampering. Everybody's tampering with everybody else's roster.
Threatening how?
Well, he went on a social media rant, Tom, for starters, but he is upset. They're fresh off that 27-14 victory over North Carolina, though.
He taking a video of himself loading a weapon? Now listen here. I'm serious.
The first task is keeping players in the building, according to Mora, which he posted on Twitter there. A simple note to the schools and coaches that are blatantly breaking NCAA rules by tampering with my players in the last 24 hours. We know who you are. We will pursue all avenues to hold you accountable. There are none. The NCAA has no authority.
You could just screenshot the reach out and, just tweet that instead of your long message, Jim. You could do it that way. That's how you hold them accountable.
He says that he's excited that they've built a program that other coaches would like to steal their players. That's everybody. 2-10 has Florida State players that are getting poached. It happens.
I'm sure they'll be great.
I was somewhat surprised, though. I will tell you that Florida State sees their sixth defensive end entered the portal in D.D. Holmes. I thought D.D. would be somebody you want to keep. I like D.D. I even think it fits in this current system. 6'6", 260 is not easy to replace. I kind of like that. He was young. I'm a little disappointed to see his name. I'm going to add him to the list of people. There haven't been many.
Yeah.
That I'm a little disappointed to see go.
Well, what was the price? Let's just get down to it. What was he asking for?
That I do not know. I have inquired, and I will find out.
And what was he making? Because whatever he's making, we reinvest back into the system, buddy. And visits kick back up in 2 days. And everybody's lives are on hold for transfer portal updates in the Warchant chat here in the next few days.
Yeah, there's no guarantee that he was going to be great. I'm not trying to
reinvest those dollars. Doesn't mean that they go away. He doesn't get to keep them just because he goes somewhere else. He might reach out and say, "Hey, where's my monthly payment?" And they might say, "Well, you don't go to Florida State anymore." And he'd say, "Well, I was told it was a contract. And you could say, your money's gone, man.
It's gone. And it's gone. 25% of FBS scholarship players entered the portal. That's insane. 25% of people playing college football let's go into the portal. I guess you do it just to find out, maybe in some cases, right?
Well, what percent lose and exhaust their eligibility? By definition, you'd say 25%, but I'm sure it's not precise like that.
Yeah.
So you're talking about on average, half of your roster is turning over.
Well, right. These days, yes. Yeah. You're really not very loyal to anybody anymore. You're just like, well, he can easily be replaced or he could be ganked. We're going to lose that guy. They're going to take him. I mean, that's the part of the problem when you're watching the sport. That's just why I said the NFL does it better. You can't just go, I really like that Justin Jefferson. We should get him. He's under contract with them. And he's got 4 more years on that deal. We can't just go, give him a call. See if he wants to come play for us. I like that kid. It doesn't work that way, but that's how it works in college football, which is not cool. So now, you're going to be watching this upcoming season, and one of our players,
Chroma,
there you go, is going to tear it up, and you're going to be like, damn it. I don't think we can keep him.
He's too good.
He's too good. It happens. Like, we used to see it all the time with basketball players. Like, Cabangeli starts making the straight-on three left and right, and you're going, oh, man.
That was the first half of the Duke game.
Dude's going to the league.
Because he made Zion look foolish for quite a few half-court defensive possessions. And Zion had not looked like that at any point in his one-and-done season. You go, oh, no. And then he did hit the trailing three. He came up the court late.
Yep.
They lost him. They fell asleep at the wheel.
Sekadaka.
Elbow extended. There you go. You hit a three. Like, oh, he's gone. That's
yeah. I think we said it at the time in the arena.
Yeah.
We were like,
at that game. No,
man.
That's why I brought it up.
Yeah.
It was that specific. We go, oh, no.
Yeah, he's gone. He's going to start hitting this now.
That tape's awesome. Goodbye.
LoansForKnowles.com. My man, Shannon Young, Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. And take advantage of the interest rates that have fallen. Properties sitting on the market longer than they have in a long time. It could be yours. If you have credit card debt, paying high interest rates on those, or considering some home improvements maybe, give Shannon a call today. Save the borrower over $2,000 a month by using the equity in their home to pay off the debt, increase their credit score over 100 points. Shannon is tireless. He is a hard worker. He is a diehard Knoll. He's a good man, and he's very good at his job. Go check out for more information, loansforknowles.com. It's loansforknowles.com.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
There's no heating and air conditioning.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Investors, are you looking for a creative way to purchase your next rental property? Are you looking to get into the Airbnb space? If so, you need to know about DSCR loans. It stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. These are loans that do not require traditional income verification. As long as the proposed rent covers the mortgage payment on the subject property, that's the only income you need. If you're looking at investing and don't know if you can qualify, let's set up a plan to get your next income producing property and start putting you on a path to passive income. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. And don't forget, every fellow Knoll that we close a loan for, I will personally make a donation of $250 to the Battle's End. It's Shannon Young at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing limit. NMLS number 373033.
On the front lines, fighting the insanity of the woke, it's Matt and Brett Oster with America in View.
Matt, Florida has become the world leader for freedom, and I love being in the studio with you.
This is G. Deckerhoff. In 1979, my friend Guy Moore opened his first store. Over 45 years later, Garnet and Gold is still providing the Seminole Nation with unique ways to show their spirit. As the last locally owned FSU merchandise source in Tallahassee, we're proud to be a part of the Florida State experience and this community. If you're a Seminole like me, this is your store. Garnet and Gold. Go Noles.
Vaccination is now recommended for adults 50 or older. Says here, we're over 6 times more likely to be hospitalized with pneumococcal pneumonia than adults under 50.
I don't love those odds.
Same. Look what I found. Pfizer's Prevnar 20 is proven to help protect adults against pneumococcal pneumonia and invasive pneumococcal disease in just 1 dose, and millions have already gotten it.
Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you have a severe allergy to its ingredients. A weakened immune system may lower your response. Common side effects include injection site pain and swelling, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138. Visit Prevnar20.com or talk to your doctor or pharmacist.
I'm on Prevnar20.com now, scheduling my appointment.
Good idea. And happy 50th.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah, it's interesting, by the way. Will we ever get to a place? Young Bleak wants to know. College football get to a point where they're doing trades for players. If they're, you know what? If they're employees, I suppose that could happen. You could get to that place.
You'd have unionization and a CBA. That's the, yeah. If there's a CBA, I'm sure you could work trades. That's crazy.
That's crazy. I don't know what to think anymore. I do love this idea. I see on there too, Matthew, that for the spring game, facing other programs, teams that you could pair up with according to a bowl, right? That's when they play the bowl. And, you know, so Iowa State and Miami would have played that game in the spring as the spring showcase. Instead, it's a bowl. I like the idea of that because it feels emptier and emptier as we take in these bowl games now. It really does. And, you know, again, with the exception being occasionally you look out there and you're like, oh, well, they got their starters. Okay, that's good. But a lot of times now you just, it's you know, it's an exercise in futility. It doesn't really matter. I had a friend text me and say, boy, the ACC is getting waxed in these bowl games. I'm like, nobody will notice. Just like when the ACC had the best record in the bowl games a few years back, nobody noticed. They especially don't notice now.
Well, they didn't notice our out-of-conference record last year. Like, you know, in consideration for the invitation.
Right.
It was a good look for the ACC. Didn't matter.
Didn't matter at all. Yeah. But these bowl games do mean less and less and less as you watch. Like I said, there was 2 different instances where I was watching and I was like, ooh. One was Oklahoma where they had 54 players. I was like, good God, man. And somebody else had 28 players leave before their bowl game. I was like, all right,
well, and now you have
7 of the 11 on the offense were starters
with the layers that you have in the playoff too. All these rounds. I mean,
yeah.
I'm choosing more of games that matter. So right now I'm choosing the NFL. Now I'll watch every playoff game starting tomorrow night.
Yes,
Wednesday.
Absolutely.
But these other bowl games, they're getting left by the wayside because this is, to your point last week, the NFL is also playing every day of the week. So
the NFL cares not for its free feeder system. They don't care. They will bend it over, and they continue to do so. Oh, you want to play your little bowl games, your playoff games? Great. We'll play 3 NFL games and get the highest ratings we've ever had, which is insane. There are bulletproof in the NFL. It's remarkable. Irashafel, Warchant.com. How are you, good sir?
I'm good, Jeff. How are you?
I'm good, man. I'm better having watched Miami lose that game. That was fun. I rather enjoyed it. Have you taken in any of the bowls, these aforementioned meaningless games we were just discussing?
Yeah, man, not glued to them, but yeah, I've definitely watched more than a few. It's been fun to watch some of these like 7 overtime games. They've been those are always fun. To watch coaches. My favorite thing in college football is that these coaches that still don't understand the overtime and that you just need to go ahead and go for 2 the first.
Yes.
You're gonna have to do it anyway the second time, and you can control your own fate. But other than that, no. The Miami one was fun to watch, and eager to see these playoffs.
So let's talk about a subject that we don't like. Neither one of us like. I chalked it up. It's more convoluted than this, but I chalked it up as a sad ending to an illustrious career and a man who probably should have stepped away from the game given the current climate of NIL and what's happening in college basketball. Talk to me about what's gone on here with players suing Leonard Hamilton, claiming that they were owed NIL money and that they never got it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little murky because I don't think, even if you look at the lawsuit, it's not like they have a whole lot documented. There are some text messages and, where there's conversations between the players and different people. Leonard obviously doesn't say anything in the text messages. And I guess Will Cowan, who associated with Rising Spear, had some comments to them about trying to get them NIL money. But, it's a lawsuit. And so, whether or not they can prove what they want to say, I think the lawyer who filed the lawsuit has already been tweeting that, they've been trying to kind of solve this for a long time and nothing's happened. That's why they filed the lawsuit, which tells you that Leonard Hamilton and or his attorney must feel like that they can either win the lawsuit or that they just thought it would go away. But, the fact that, again, none of us are legal experts, but, it's going to come down to what Leonard and his attorney think that they said or that they can prove and make a decision from there. But, it's ugly, but you're seeing a lot of these now around college sports because a lot of these kids are making decisions or not making decisions based on what, they think they're going to get or what they've been told they're going to get by a third party or by coaches. And none of these have actually gone to a law. None of them have gone to court yet. Billy Napier is being sued by the Rashada family or people. There's some other cases like this out there, but I don't know if any of them have gotten to the point where, anything's been proven. And so, it's just hard to really comment because we don't know how this is going to play out.
Yeah, think about it earlier this year, not Vanderbilt, the UNLV kid, the quarterback, what was his name, Sluka, whatever his name was. Yeah, he walked out in the middle. He was having a great season, and he was like, peace out. I was told I was going to get $100,000. Never got it. You guys can suck it.
And I think they came back and said that, no, you were never promised that. And that, and I've talked to, I think we talked about this on headlines before, but I've talked to a few players that have come through FSU and, knowing people around them. And it's a crappy situation because you have a lot of time, you have players, you have intermediaries, and then you have coaches all having conversations. And a lot of times there's one group thinks they hear something and the other group says, I never said that. And then now it's okay. How do you prove it? Now, what's interesting, 2 things that are interesting about this lawsuit, though, is, you have 6 players all alleging the same thing, but there were other players on that team that are not part of the lawsuit. So, you need, what are they going to say? Because there's other guys that could have been in that lawsuit and chose not to do it. So, and they're not at Florida State either. So, again, I just would urge people anytime there's litigation that you're reading one side's complaint, we'll kind of have to see how it plays out.
It makes me sad, though. I do think there's a couple things that I could apply to this. It just personally, I feel like it's a terrible look for Florida State. It does not shine a great light on the athletic department, the athletic director, the Rising Spear, you name it, Leonard Hamilton, certainly. It's not a good look, and it makes me sad because we both know Leonard Hamilton to be a man of great character. And I'm just sad that this seemingly is how this is going to kind of play out now at the end of his career, which is why I wanted Coach to step down once we realized that the sport was going in an entirely different direction. And I also think it's important, and you see stories like this, and you're right, Billy Napier is being sued for an unpaid $13 million payment to Jaden Rashada, who he alleges he was told he'd get $13 million, all of that. This is why coaches now are being told never promise anything. Like, you can't, as a coach, say those things. You can have other people say it, but you cannot be the guy promising money to players. And I think this is, we don't know what happened, but it makes me sad.
But it's like I said, I think it's happening all around college football and college sports, college basketball. And the question is whether or not people are going to sue or not, and then whether or not, because a lot of times, it's like in any industry. I can speak for the newspaper industry, which I'm not part of anymore. One of the things that, for years and years and years, newspaper staff writers and editors would never get paid overtime. But the reason nobody sued was because they knew they would never get another job at a newspaper,
right,
if they sued for overtime. Well, it's the same thing here. Like, there's a lot of these players and coaches, and they're having these disagreements about whether or not they should have been paid, should not have been paid. But then ultimately they have to decide, is that something I want to do or not? And, actually file a lawsuit. And then from the coach's standpoint, are you going to settle it if you don't believe that that's what you actually said? And so, again, it's murky. As to your overall point, do I think, it tarnishes Leonard Hamilton's, I guess name or whatever? Yeah, I'm sure. But I also, again, I don't know how it's going to be resolved because, court cases take a long time, and it's not like he has to, it's not like he's going to be coaching for 5 more years.
Right.
So this could all get resolved long after he's gone.
Florida State, so since we last talked, has done quite well in the portal. Namely, I've gotten excited about the offensive linemen that have come in. But then today, obviously, or not even today, it was yesterday, I think, D.D. Holmes leaves the program. I never know what to make of any of this anymore. There are some guys you'd like to keep around. For me, that would have been one of them. At the same time, they're really transitioning that entire position group this offseason. It's amazing. Your thoughts on the D.D. Holmes transfer or portal news, and then what Florida State's done so far with adding talent?
Yeah, the way I look at all of these things when it comes to guys leaving the program, especially at a position like that, is, man, I see all of this now in 2024, 2025 is very much a 1 or 2 year window.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you get a guy like D.D. Holmes, who I thought looked project-ish from what I saw this past season in practicing, he did not look like a guy. Again, I'm not an expert, but by my eye, he did not look like a guy who was necessarily going to help them. He certainly didn't help them this year. He didn't get on the field except for a few plays against Charleston Southern. And I don't know that he's going to help them next year. So in my mind, man, in a 1 or 2 window, I'm not getting that worked up about a guy who might not help you in that window. I also understand other people who look at it and say, well, we have to have young defensive players and defensive linemen and develop them so that they can play 2 or 3 years down the road. And I get that. But I also wonder how many of those guys are actually going to be here 2 or 3 years down the road. So it's just, it's a matter of perspective at this point. In the old days, I would have been like, yeah, that stinks because maybe he could help you out in 2 or 3 years. I don't know that he's going to help anybody win games in 2025. As far as the overall picture, though, goes, yeah, man, I think they're doing really well. I think they're probably doing better than they expected. They brought in, I like the whole tack, and I wrote a story about the other day, and it's not anything I uncovered. Anybody could see it if you just watch the situation. But, last year they went after so many guys who were highly touted potential players coming out of high school, but for whatever reason had not done much at college. And the positive to that was you thought they had a lot of upside and you had them for 3 or 4 years. But they really hadn't done much in college. Well, this year they've gone back the other way, and they've gotten guys who have produced a ton in college football, but you might only have them for a year or two.
Mm-hmm.
And they're probably not going to be like first-round NFL draft picks. They're going to be really good college football players, but probably not quite as much upside, and you won't have them as long. But they'll help you win in the immediate, in the now, which Florida State clearly needs. So I think they're going about the right way. And, I think but, the flip side of it is you're probably going to be doing this again 12 months from now.
Yeah, it's hard because you feel like you're on a vicious loop or cycle, but at the same time, like you said, if you've got a kid you like a lot who's really talented and was highly thought of, if he doesn't get on the field in year one, and a lot of them won't, there's no guarantee you got that kid going into the next year, because somebody's going to know that he didn't get to play, and they're going to need that position. And you're right, they're going to get poached. It's what's happening in the sport. And until there's some parameters on that, and unlimited transfers are no longer a thing, this is kind of how you have to operate. I do tend to agree with you there. Brother, always appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the week. Happy New Year, man.
You too, Jeff. Thanks, man.
Yep. Irashfel. Warchant.com. Yeah, I don't like this hamster wheel. I don't like constantly having to do it this way, but I do. We just got done saying 25% of college football players are in the portal.
No, I agree with the idea that, are they going to help me now, or are they going to help me next year? And by that I mean 26. That's about the cutoff. I can't see 2027. I don't know. I don't know what that's going to be for the sport.
Well, and if he doesn't win, he might not even be here. So yeah,
I don't know what conference we're in. I don't know what network we're playing on. I don't know how many teams are going to be in the playoff. I don't know if the bowls are still going to exist. I mean, I don't know if it's 105. Are they going to expand to 120 kids? There's so many things that are going to be totally different in 2027. Are JUCO kids allowed to play? Is there going to be a ruling yet again against the NCAA that somehow would free up a JUCO kid who plays 3 years there to still have 4 years of eligibility in college football? I don't know. Could be. Wilder things have just happened in the history of college football. So I agree with that perspective there, that if they're not going to help me this year or next year, then, well, okay. I mean, maybe it would have been great to have him, but let's reinvest into the now.
One of the great things that happened in 2024, I built a relationship with Don and Joe, and now Rusty and my friends at Tried and True Consulting. When you process payments with Tried and True Consulting, you get to choose from pretty cool options, by the way. They'll give you $1,000 off the hardware. Perhaps you don't want that. You can choose no gateway charges for a year, or they'll give you a free video ad board, by the way. And you can give a call today to learn more about how they work, what they do, how they can help you save a lot of money. By the way, 10% of what they bring in, they give to the Battle's End, which is kicking ass right now. You too should be adding to the pot for the Battle's End, but that's an aside. Give them a call today, 844-463-6653. That is 844-463-6653.
Your local news now.
2 miners are in critical condition after being struck by a vehicle Saturday evening. The 2 pedestrians were hit near State Road 267 and Michaela Lane around 7:24 p.m. Both were transported to Tallahassee Memorial Hospital with life-threatening injuries. Preliminary information has revealed that the involved vehicle is traveling northbound on State Road 267 when the vehicle traveled onto the eastern shoulder of the roadway and collided with the pedestrians. Following the crash, the vehicle fled the scene but was found abandoned a short time later. The incident is currently under investigation. The Red Cross is assisting residents of an apartment complex in East Tallahassee after firefighters beat back heavy flames coming through the roof of the 2-story building. The call came at about 1:50 a.m. Saturday in the 400 block of Victory Garden Drive. Crews immediately began extinguishing the fire while ensuring the apartments were clear of occupants. The state fire marshal's office is investigating. This is Rachel Lene with your World Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Ample sunshine expected this afternoon with daytime highs approaching 72. Winds out of the southeast around 5 miles per hour. Lows level off around 54 tonight, overcast skies. Daytime highs approaching 76 tomorrow. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Currently, it's 72 degrees.
What do you need tires on? Your car or truck, tractor or heavy equipment? At Nice Tire and Auto Service, we have tires for all these needs. And we service your vehicle from air conditioning and computerized alignment to oil changes and everything else under the hood. Call Nice Tire and Auto today at 574-4100. That's 574-4100 for your scheduled maintenance. National accounts welcome at Nice Tire and Auto Service, 4792 Bluntstown Highway, just west of Capitol Circle.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. You two at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
2026. It is at Alabama, Bryant-Denny Stadium. Yeah, it was always like looking. We got Notre Dame that year too, Tom. We're also at Miami. Man, that's scheduled in 2026. We better
be new head coach, Miami.
No, they won 10 games this year. Didn't get him anything.
Let him win 7 next year and see.
Oh, they're already. He had that faraway look on his face. He knows. They went all in. He is paid more handsomely and given a bigger budget than any coach they've ever had, and they accomplished nothing. Didn't even make the conference championship game. Sure as hell didn't make the playoff and did not end their bowl losing streak. So
they did build a lead on Syracuse.
They did early on. They did. Holding the lead, however. Also, their coach consistently kicked field goals throughout the year to go up by 6 with that defense. Did it again the other day. Like, oh, you're going to kick another field goal, are you? Going to get up by 6 instead of going for it on 4th and 4 with one of the best quarterbacks in college football. Doesn't seem like a good idea to me. He does it all the time. We knew at some point in game management would come back. It did. Frequently. But we have Alabama that year. We have Clemson, obviously. We got SMU that year. We got at Miami, at Pitt, and we host Notre Dame 2026. Now, I say that why? Because I used to love this game. I used to sit around and then dream up schedules and games that I wanted to see. And now we don't know what to think. I saw in the chat, my man James B was talking about Georgia. That is in 2027 here at Doak. And that particular year, you have a pretty good schedule, a home schedule that features Georgia, features Miami, features those are really the best ones.
I would say that maybe that's your home schedule.
Perhaps.
Maybe.
Perhaps. Yeah. I used to love this, and that's when I got so excited about Boise, and I got screwed out of that game. 2028, off to Sanford Stadium in Athens, Georgia.
Maybe.
Perhaps. We do go to Lane Stadium in Blacksburg, buddy. Let's go.
Maybe.
Perhaps. But that's Georgia
could
on
be
the
going
road.
to Champaign, Illinois instead that year. Who knows?
We could be. We absolutely could be. We have no idea. We could be in the newly renovated and shuffled Pac-12. Who knows? I don't know what to think in general about these schedules that you can click on and get excited about. I know in 2029, Tom, we have no such exciting action. There's no like, oh, look at this. We have Notre Dame, but no Georgia or Alabama or anything like that.
Maybe not. But nobody has stuff scheduled that far out. I would think, why would you do it at this point? Why bother? You don't know what it's going to look like. Maybe it will reorganize once again into this ultimate super league, and our conference is the super ultimate conference. We're in the suck, everybody. Here we go.
We're in the suck. Oh, man, if we could just win the suck.
That's right.
We're in the suck. Yeah, if you go to FB schedules, they stop doing them when you get to past 2030. 2030, you got Notre Dame, but after that, you're really not seeing anything there. I want
just a picture of the Riddler.
I do want to go. You know, the one place I have not gone to see a game. I've been there. I've been to the campus and I've been in the arena, but I've never gone to a football game there. At some point, I would like to go and see us play at Syracuse.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know why. The Carrier Dome. I've always wanted to see a game there. I hear it's terrible.
I've driven by it.
Oh, I've been on that campus before too. Yeah.
You did not run down their football field because you would have been in the Carrier Dome.
I did not run down their football field. Every other one of these, Stanford Stadium, I've run down that field.
You making that trip next year?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good trip to make. I've run down the fields of every team in the ACC not named. Syracuse. I've never run down the field at Wake. I never ran down the field at Wake.
How about the Hill?
Snuggy Hill?
Yeah.
That's Wake.
Yeah. What, have you run down the hill?
Oh,
You
no,
can run
no,
down the hill
no,
without
no.
running down the field.
No, I never ran down the hill. I never ran down the field there at Wake. I've done it at Duke. I've never done that. I've never done it at, I did it at UNC. Never done it. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Run down the field. I've run down the field at Ohio State. I've done it in Athens, Georgia. I've done it at Michigan. I've done it at Notre Dame. I've done a lot of places. Did it at Cal. Ran right down the field at Cal.
Really?
Oh, yeah. That's a quaint little stadium, by the way. A great little setting there. It's nice. It's little. There's not a lot to it, Tom. But yeah, I want to, for every team. Well, once we figure out a league, hopefully we end up in either the SEC or the Big Ten soon, so I can start putting it on the calendar, buddy.
There it is.
It's field running time.
You could make you could make that a feature. You go get an opposing player or a coach, and you get to run down the field with them, and you get to pay them for their time.
It would be fun.
It's field running time.
Let's go. It'll be like the Gumps running in to see Nick Saban with their poster board.
You have to be careful. You'll be pushing 60.
Those fat asses running out there. Sign my ball. You thought I was going.
No, I didn't, but still. I just didn't expect that.
Sign my ball, please, Nick. I did not run with Harris fat ass. There we go. That's a great one. Look at that. I love how he's jogging. I gotta get this ball. He's going. Look at the other dude jogging with the Alabama shirt. That guy.
He doesn't even have anything. He just wants
jogging.
to go get a handshake.
He's like, all right.
I'm going to get a handshake.
I'm here. I stood next to Ralphie at Colorado.
Here you
Stevie.
go, Jeremy Pruitt. I got some coconut oil for you for the dome.
I stood next to Ralphie at Colorado when we won there, and I have to tell you, I was bitterly disappointed. Ralphie was not impressive. It's a she too, by the way, I think, and she's not impressive. I thought, first of all, I've seen buffaloes that are a lot bigger, so I just assumed, but they can't have an unruly buffalo.
No, certainly not.
Wouldn't be good. But I root for anybody that's got a live mascot. I want the mascot to eat them or hurt them or stab them or whatever they could do. So like Bevo, I want him to stab people. I want, even Oklahoma with the schooner shooter, whenever that flips, I think that's the greatest thing in the world. When people go flying off of that. I like that. Yeah.
And the Virginia Cavalier fell off his horse. That was
oh yeah.
That was a big to-do.
I always loved seeing people go flying, as long as they're not dead. Remember a few years back that somebody couldn't get control of that golf cart, the medical golf cart, and just plowed into those people from behind on the football field? It's one of the greatest things you'll ever see. If this guy's trying to hit the brake on the wheel and he can't do it, it's just plowing in, and their back is turned so they don't see it coming. They get kneecapped. It's brutal. It's like when Mr. Schematic Advantage, Notre Dame,
Charlie Weiss,
when he got trucked in his knee. Oh
yeah.
You've forgotten the fat goes every which way to Sunday. You got fat going to the right, fat going to the left, fat going underneath his neck. Fat. Oh, it's just crazy.
Well, we're on nearly the anniversary now. I think, was it 12 years ago? Might be. Where Johnny got the camera woman in the
his ass cheeks got her.
Yeah, in the Peach Bowl.
Yeah.
She was on the
Boom.
goal line.
Yeah.
That was Texas A&M Duke.
Yeah, it was a great game.
As I recall, Duke led by a lot, and A&M came back
Came
and won.
back. That's right. Yeah.
But he got the camera woman. She went flopping.
Yeah, people getting taken out on the sidelines, it's the best. As long as they don't get, I've seen some people really.
Well, yes, this is the 10-year anniversary of Dalvin Cook almost ending an old woman's life at Syracuse, the very Carrier Dome that you wish to go see a game.
Yeah.
I will find that photo. I share it once every couple of years, and I'll show it on the camera. But it's an older woman, no shy of 94, 95 years old.
You can't have it.
And she is fearing for her life.
Eyes are the biggest saucer.
Here comes Dalvin Cook, and it was before we had changed our uniforms to have the garnet numbers. So it was 2014. Mario Pender must have just gotten hurt.
Against Syracuse, ironically.
Was it that day?
It was against Syracuse, yeah.
Yeah. And he is going to take her out, and she sees what's remaining of her life flash before her eyes.
Well, make sure you post it on for those in the chat. You'll get it as we go to break. Yeah, no, I root for these things to happen. I root for people to get taken out. I don't want them to die. Oh, that look on her face. She's like, oh no. And that dude's got a good grip. He's going to yank her out of the way.
Yes, he will break her shoulder by yanking her out of the way.
Did he save her? I think it.
No, he ended up cutting away because he's one of the great athletes who ever played here.
Well, that is correct. He's one of the great athletes, period.
It was crisis averted, but she saw that it was probably not safe for her on the sidelines.
Yeah, I always when Georgia Tech comes out, I root for people to go flying. Ramblin' Wreckmobile. I want that thing that people go off the back.
Yeah, it'd be great if the Wake motorcycle
took somebody out.
It
would be great. Absolutely. Gotta be careful with the spear. We don't want anybody getting stabbed. But other than that, like everything else, I'm for it. I want people to go flying, get bit, whatever it might be. But forthcoming, stay with Jeff Cameron Show 833 Real Talk Radio Warchant TV.
This announcement is brought to you by Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey.
If you're driving right now, you should know there's an 80% chance that the cars all around you don't carry any bodily injury insurance. Most people don't realize it, but in Florida, all the law requires is that drivers carry property damage insurance. This means that the texting teen drifting over into your lane or the drag racer on your rear bumper have no way of compensating you or your loved ones when they cause a crash. And this should scare the hell out of you. Fortunately, there's an easy way to protect your family from this, and it's called uninsured motorist coverage. It's an absolute must, but a lot of insurance companies are convincing folks to drop it just to save a few dollars. Take it from the personal injury experts. Don't. At Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey, we've recovered millions of dollars in uninsured motorist coverage in crashes where our clients would have otherwise received nothing. So please, call your agent right now and make sure you have uninsured motorist coverage on your policy. We hope you'll never need it, but we'll be here for you if you ever do. Fonville Lewis Messer McConaughey. Don't settle for less.
When you need a plumber quick, how long is an acceptable time to have to wait?
Yeah, hey, it's the Millers again. Just calling you about our little plumbing problem.
2 hours?
Hey, we were hoping you can get here soon because the water is getting really bad. I mean, please hurry.
4 hours?
I know you said you were on your way, but, honey, tell the kids to drink water.
8 hours?
Don't worry about us. You're fine.
At M&L Plumbing, you'll never have to wait long for quality, dependable service right when you need it. At M&L Plumbing, we listen to our customers, and our qualified technicians aim to achieve 100% customer satisfaction. So the next time you need plumbing work or repairs, think of the name M&L Plumbing, your local plumbing experts, commercial or residential. Give us a call, 850-575-9393, or visit us online at mandlplumbing.com. M&L Plumbing, for all of your plumbing needs.
Time to head out on our annual guys fishing trip. Wait, where's Jimmy?
He just texted me saying he has to swing by his storage unit to get a couple of things. And now there's a truck blocking him in and he won't be here for another hour.
That wouldn't have happened if he had just called Southeast Portable Buildings and got a unit right on his property.
I love mine. I have so much more space in my garage. Now I can finally park my truck in there.
Give them a call today, 850-580-6400. That's 850-580-6400. Or visit them online for all their options at southeastportablebuildings.com.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
WVFT Gretna, Tallahassee. This is Real Talk 93.3. More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3 brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
Baker Mayfield with 5 touchdown passes as the Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat Carolina 48-14 Sunday. He finished with 359 passing yards. Mike Evans and Jalen McMillan each caught 2 touchdown passes. Bucky Irving ran for 113 yards. The Buccaneers go to 9-7, lead Atlanta by 1 game in the NFC West. They'll face New Orleans on Sunday. Jacksonville defeated Tennessee 20-13. They go to 4-12. Mac Jones, 174 yards passing, 2 touchdowns. Jags close out their season Sunday against Indianapolis. College basketball, Florida State hosting Syracuse Saturday. The Noles have been off since December 21st. A home loss to Louisville. They're 9-4. Florida at 13-0 beat Stetson Saturday 85-45. They'll face number 10 Kentucky on Saturday. This sports update brought to you by Flomar's Pawn, Guns, and Gold. More than you might expect. I'm Tony Desiri, Real Talk 93.3.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. He is a be in the room with real people kind of learner. So he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto. Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
IBM will become the official global partner of UFC, the world's premier mixed martial arts organization. Together, IBM and UFC are pioneering a product to revolutionize analytics and information in live sports. This includes unique insights and advanced analysis of live bouts, fighter tendencies, projections of possible outcomes, and method of victory, all of which will be engineered to update in real-time on-screen data. This partnership marks a pivotal win, not only for UFC and IBM, but also for fans around the world who will experience the sport in a whole new way. Sponsored by IBM.
Thinking about buying a new car or truck? Right now is the time. It's the final days of Tallahassee's annual automotive liquidation. Hundreds of cars, trucks, and SUVs, all priced to sell by end of the day, January 2nd. 94 vehicles have been sold thus far. This is your last chance for unheard of savings. People have come from as far away as Atlanta for the savings. All sales final. No reasonable offers will be refused. First come, first served. Bring your title and your trade. Banks will be represented for on-the-spot financing. This event will continue on New Year's Eve and will be closed on New Year's Day, so time is running out. Choose from over 90 pre-owned vehicles remaining. Cars, SUVs, trucks, Toyotas, Nissans, Hondas, you name it. Many brand new vehicles remaining and more on the way. This event is taking place at both Kraft Brothers dealerships, Infinity of Tallahassee and Kraft Nissan, and it ends on January 2nd. And when it's over, it's over.
Your body is a masterpiece designed to heal itself from within. Learn how to maximize your health by tuning in to Phenomenal Health with me, Dr. Ryan Finn. Saturdays at 2:30. Experience true health today and call Finn Chiropractic at 386-7700.
Pinch a Penny Pools has 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, locally owned, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
It's Christmas time, my yard's a mess. Friends and family coming, oh, what a stress.
Pick up the phone, the Lawn Johns are near. The Lawn Johns can help, no need to fear.
322-2567.
322-2567.
Lawn Johns, 2567.
No need to fear, the Lawn Johns are here.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4,
3, 2, 1.
Today, as a lot of people are, but we'll have fresh content for you tomorrow. I hope your holiday season has gone well. Really weird with Christmas in the middle of the week, New Year's in the middle of the week, thus ensuring 2 weeks of people not really working or feeling like they can. Like none of us do. No, it's tough. Middle of the week holidays, you're like, well, it's the middle of the week. So then Thursday and Friday become kind of useless as well. And then you just say to yourself, well, why am I here? Why am I even here at all on a Monday or a Tuesday? It's tough. I don't like the middle of the week holidays, Tom. Just letting it be known.
Next year, it's Thursday. What a difference. It makes such a difference.
It does.
That's attached to the weekend.
Yeah.
So next year, what you'll have is Christmas Eve will be kind of a holiday, but you kind of need to put in at least a half a day because we're going to give you Thursday, Friday. So you got to give me a little something on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve in terms of productivity. Otherwise, we're going to give you a 4-day weekend.
Yeah, and it seems like that's a good bargain, right?
Fair.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Totally fair. But it's even odd being here now on a Monday, even though it feels like we should react. We had a lot happen since we last talked. Obviously, both in the portal. We had the story, unfortunately, with the basketball program, but we had these playoff games and people lamenting the blowouts that were the playoffs, hoping to get a much better round 2. I think we will. I will also note that it's supposed to work out that way. The teams that had the better record and thus hosted were the favorites, in many cases heavy favorites, to win the games, and they did. I don't know why there's a effort to attach meaning to the favorites winning home games.
Well, some teams were outclassed, and they should never have been in the field.
And others who got blown out and were down 21-0 in the first quarter were not labeled as having been outclassed. It was not mentioned that they didn't look like they belonged. Namely Tennessee, who was uncompetitive against Ohio State. I will say this. Whenever Ohio State plays well, and they don't always, see Michigan, but when they do, you're like, well, that's the most talented team in the country. Like when you see them playing well, you see the parts, you go, oh, they're the best team.
I think NFL scouts would agree.
Yeah.
Especially from a skill position standpoint. You cannot argue that.
Well, would have been nice to get that receiver, huh?
Yeah.
Woo! I mean, dude's a beast. By the way, 14-7, Iowa leads Mizzou.
If he came here, we would have won 4 games and he would have left. So,
Yeah. Do you ever wonder when you watch really good players? So, obviously, Travis Hunter's career is now over. He goes out, unfortunately for him, on a losing note. BYU blows Colorado out. Credit to him. He played and played well. He did everything he could. But that ends a saga. That ends a particular saga. And it started with us. It started with a kid we thought we had for certain in the fold. And in many ways, it has impacted this program negatively. And I think Mike Norvell in a negative way as well. And it kind of ushered in the new era of what recruiting has become. I don't blame the kid. I don't like it. I wish it hadn't happened. Certainly sucked to be the example of what was to come in recruiting.
You can blame the kid to a degree. He could have chosen a different path to make the announcement than the one he did.
Oh, I agree with that. I agree with that, but I don't care about somebody getting paid. I'm not lamenting that. People got mad at that at the time.
Totally agree.
So I gave the example earlier, all right? We were talking about Cam Ward opting out of the second half. I don't know why he even bothered to play a half in a meaningless exhibition game like the Pop-Tart Bowl, but he did. And then it was a bad look. And then people killed him online because they thought he was quitting on his team, and they lose by a point. It's hilarious. Miami doesn't accomplish anything of note. But that said, why did he even play? I don't even understand why he played. And then his head coach didn't really kind of give you a clear answer. I read his quote. But when we talked about that, I thought, that's just sort of a strange way. But I was looking back during the break because I used the example of Leonard Fournette. And you know what else I remembered? I remember us having this conversation when Christian McCaffrey did it. When Christian McCaffrey opted out, was also a top 10 pick. It didn't hurt them in the draft at all. But at that time, we talked about players opting out of bowl games very differently. It was now it's commonplace. Now, I mean, hell, people just opt out of their teams. So they leave one team, go to the next, go to the next, go to the next. It's all very different. It's not necessarily something you like to wrap your arms around or enjoy about the sport. I don't. But that said, I remember people clutch their pearls when kids held out of games, especially kids that were projected to go in the first round, in the first 10 picks. And people will say, well, you could do what Colorado's players did, which is, make sure you have a hefty insurance policy. It ain't enough. If you're going to be a top 10 pick, that insurance policy is going to have to be for $40 or $50 million. I mean, what are we doing here? But that said, now nobody they don't like it, but they get it. They get it now. They get it now in a way that they didn't when we were lamenting the Christian McCaffreys and Leonard Fournettes of the world opting out of games. But remember the tight end from Michigan, Butt, who played in the game against us and then devastated himself and lost out on all kinds of money.
Well, he might have done that the year before. I forget. Or was it the year after? Because I thought he got hurt in the Fiesta Bowl. Oh, no, that was Jalen Smith. Oh, Jalen Smith was the linebacker that got hurt in the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah.
No, Butt did get hurt in our game.
Yes, he did. It cost him millions.
Yeah.
Yes.
We weren't lamenting Fournette and
but
McCaffrey.
That was the Orange Bowl.
Yes, you're correct. 2016.
That was the Orange Bowl.
We were lamenting McCaffrey and Fournette opting out. I don't. Well, at least I remember I didn't, because
no,
it was a farce. It's the bowl games have always been a farce relative to the next opportunity you have to get paid.
Yeah, if you're a first round pick, right?
If you're if you're a top 50 pick, unless you can materially improve your draft stock.
In some cases, you can. In some cases.
Then make the determination to do that, or at the Senior Bowl. But I've always thought it was nuts for kids not to think about their own first. Once you've served your team for a season, absolutely. Now, NIL changes that equation a little bit.
It does, and certainly we've never said opt out of a meaningful game, like a playoff game or a national championship game. You don't do that.
No, of course not.
But, yeah, I mean, again, if that is my kid, that's how I always look at it, right? So I have a son, Bryce, who plays. He's a junior. And, let's say if he's lucky enough, we'll see. I don't knock on wood. If he goes and plays college somewhere, and God forbid it happens that, he becomes really, really good, and there's a chance he could go play in the NFL. Again, this is unlikely to happen, but let's just say, how would I advise him? That's how I always look at this. Well, if you're in a nothing exhibition bowl game that doesn't count for a thing, and it's a non-play, and you have a chance to make millions of dollars, then you do not play in that game. Like, if I'm Cam Ward's father, friend, anybody, I'm not having him play one play in the Pop-Tart Bowl. So that's why I don't even get what happened there. Why? It's just bizarre. Other than, like you said, he was clearly chasing a record.
Right. And which at that
point, probably
point,
short-lived.
Well, and that opens up more questions than you would rather have asked of you. That again, I'm not saying he gets kicked down to a day 2 pick.
No.
What I'm saying is, if I'm a general manager and I'm looking at two like skill sets that I think, give or take, they both fit me well enough, and I'm going to have the choice between those two, I mean, it may cost him that pick. You may go with Shedeur because Shedeur played over Cam. If those are the two quarterbacks that you come down to, you could say, well, I know that he's going to be there. Also, I know he's tough as can be because he's taking a million hits.
An ass beating, yeah.
And this guy will play just enough to handle the business that he wants to handle. So it might cost you a small fraction of your rookie contract, but it might cost you a small fraction of your rookie contract.
It might. I don't, again, I don't know why either one of those guys played, frankly, but
I agree. It's the bowl game should be looked at as an opportunity for the future. Nothing more. If it's not a playoff game, it's an opportunity for the future.
Well, and for years, I was always fond of pointing out to people that believed how you played in that bowl game in some way served as the catalyst for success the following year, or potential jump-starting the following season. And you can go back and look at bowl records, and it's just simply not true. It didn't. It didn't necessarily portend of future failure or success. We tend to remember the times in which it aligned, where we say, oh, no, but I remember when this happened and we won that bowl game and it was a big deal. And then remember what happened the following year? We kicked ass. Yeah, you were going to kick ass either way. You were going to be great either way. It had nothing to do with that bowl game.
Yeah, you can think of the obvious examples where it aligns. Northern Illinois, you roll them. In 12, 13, you go crazy. National championship game, very close. 14, as it turned out, every game that calendar year was very, very close.
Ridiculous.
And it started with the game against Auburn. But then you can look at 2010 against South Carolina. We understand where we're going. We understand what comes next.
Beat that ass.
And then you won 9 games the next year because you came back on Notre Dame. That wasn't an understanding where we're going. 11 was a step back.
Yes.
16, you won the Orange Bowl. Jake Budd got hurt in that game.
Yes, he did. That's a great pass in the corner of the end zone for the go-ahead touchdown.
Jabril Peppers didn't play in that game. I don't know if you know that.
I'm unaware.
How did 2017 go?
Not as well as we'd hoped.
No momentum off of New Year's 6 win.
That was always my point too. I think where you could look at those games and say this absolutely gave us a glimpse is when coaches did do what you're describing, and when coaches do what you're describing, and that is play a bunch of freshmen, bunch of kids that have that game to still be played without it costing them the red shirt. And you might find you have a little something in a kid. You might find out, oh, you know what? He can handle the rigors of this, or he can do this in a game setting. Those kinds of things.
You find it out, but yes, to your point, the kid finds it out about himself.
Most important.
That's where it comes
most
into play.
importantly. Yeah, most importantly. As I said, there's a bowl game on right now. The Music City Bowl, 14-13, Iowa currently leading Mizzou.
I remember the legendary Music City Bowl where we had half a roster ourselves.
Yes, everybody was suspended, and we almost pulled off the upset given all the suspensions against Kentucky.
We had a Hail Mary at the end, Hail Mary bid. I was at the Wing House for that on US 19 watching that game. But we were ahead of our time. That game is very much what football programs around America are experiencing all the time now. Dozens of players not available.
I once saw a woman at the Wing House, the very one you were at, stuffing her face with blue cheese and wings while smoking a cigarette.
I'm not going to refute that story. What I will say, though, is that the Wing House staff was probably the best in Pinellas County.
Talented staff?
Better than anybody in the category.
Just a talented staff.
Yep.
So for tomorrow, Penn State, Boise State, I think it's got a chance to be decent. That game is played at Boise.
People don't remember that Boise went toe-to-toe with Oregon
Yes,
this
they
year.
did. Very early in the year, but they did.
They did.
They did.
You look down the stats. Watch the game if you did. It was a great game. They don't do much through the air. Boise doesn't do hardly anything through the air.
Well,
but
best running back in the league.
He rushes for 195 in that game. And time of possession, yards per play, it's all pretty equal. I don't understand why Boise, I believe they're 50-1 currently.
Well, they're 11-point dogs. One of the reasons is that they didn't play well down the stretch. Like, they weren't dominant in the way that you think a team like that should be. In particular, that game against Wyoming, which I stayed up and watched. They won 17-13, had to come back to do it, trailed in much of that game. Oregon State's a terrible team, so that was what it was. And then they beat UNLV 21-7. And that was kind of a – so I think people are just kind of, I don't know how good they are. They don't remember the Oregon game was the second game of the year, and that was 37-34.
It was a kick to end the game.
It was a hell of a game. And then there's a stretch where they dominate their competition. I don't know. I just never trust Penn State. I never trust Franklin.
You got a chance for 2 or 3 dogs to be in the Final Four here. That's what I'm excited to see.
Before the playoffs started, when we looked at the matchups, the one I was most excited about was Clemson, Texas. I thought Clemson could make that a game. They did. Texas clearly was the better team, but Clemson made it a game, and it was a fun game. I was hoping Indiana would make it a game against Notre Dame. They did not. They cemented the fact that when they play good teams, they don't win. But that doesn't take anything away from how that season for that program will go down as one of the special seasons of all time. I mean, it would kind of suck, by the way, to be in the state of Indiana, same state as Notre Dame, and to know that you have not beaten Notre Dame at Notre Dame since 1898. Sweet Jesus. That is ridiculous. Now, they don't play every year, but still, come on, man. That's a toughie. But here's where I was going. I was thinking about how things were going to play out, and it occurred to me that even the Texas-Arizona State game interested me. That even, well, obviously, Penn State, Boise State, which we just talked about. Everybody's going to be excited about Ohio State, Oregon, and they should because we've seen it, and it was great. But Notre Dame, Georgia's good.
Yes, it is.
Notre Dame, Georgia's very good. So these are the matchups where you would expect to get close games. And hopefully we do, because certainly nothing was good about the first round of the playoffs. And the ratings were terrible, I might add. And that will be interesting to see if they move forward and change the dates on these things when they play these.
They've got to avoid the NFL. They've got to do it.
I mean, the ratings were terrible. It didn't help them that these games were ass kickings.
They got to go Thursday, Friday. They can't go Saturday ever again because the NFL has already owned that Saturday for years.
42-17, Ohio State, Tennessee didn't help, and it was 21-0 before you could blink. Obviously, the Jennings kid at SMU, I mean, it was a bad sign if you're Rhett Lashley and you're walking onto the field before the game and you're watching warm-ups, and that kid could not stop blowing on his hands. He could not stop. His shoulders were hunched up. He's blowing on his hands. I was like, I don't like the look of this.
Yeah, you've seen that before.
I have.
When a pitcher on your favorite team is playing in pennant baseball, and he keeps with his fingers. He keeps going.
Yeah, you're like, oh, it's not good. You're over here worrying about the elements. This is not good. This is
leadoff hitter, ball two, not even close. One was a fastball, one was a breaking ball. So, okay, so we don't like either of our pitches.
We got nothing.
He's working the rosin. He never does.
We got nothing out here, and it's cold, and I don't want to be here. Jennings must have, I swear to God, after every pass in warmups, he was blowing his hands. I'm like, hey, man, it's going to be cold. It's going to be cold all day, buddy. We got to figure this out. You can't. And then subsequently, pick six. I mean,
all he had to do was not score for the other team, and you got yourself maybe a compelling.
Could have been maybe remotely compelling, yeah.
20-10.
But the point of it is, and the reason that Herb Street took such a beating as he should have, is that blowouts happen when it was a 14 playoff. Blowouts happen all the time in NFL games. We've seen Super Bowls in which people get blown the hell out. I mean, 55 to, I mean, you name your game. Anytime the Bucs are playing you in a Super Bowl, you're getting your ass beat.
That's right. Yeah. Look, Kansas City was outclassed in 2020. They should not have been chosen to be a representative.
But the point is that you cannot then use those results as a referendum, which is what now we're all worried is going to happen. In fact, that we know it's going to happen. They're basically telling you it's going to happen. I mean, they started the campaign during the game, or he started the campaign during the game. And you could tell Fowler knew it was a terrible look. He kept trying to move out of it. Like, why did I serve that up? Because now he's going to go on a diatribe about his own fans, which he did.
Let's get to our Affleck trivia question, Kurt. Is it about overrated, undeserving teams, Chris?
Is it about lunatic fringe fans? Jeff Cameron Show 93.3, Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Tis the season for shopping and searching for the perfect gift for the truly special people in your life. And there's no better way to show them you care than shopping at Pentalpha Jewelers. Come check out the Glock brand watches for the men in your life. Tough and masculine, but still stylish and classy. Or browse the showroom full of gorgeous gemstones, necklaces, bracelets, earrings, rings, and more. Pentalpha is also one of the only remaining local jewelry repair and custom shops in town. You can create custom personalized jewelry or bring any heirloom or older jewelry back to life in stunning detail. There's something for everyone at Pentalpha Jewelers. Shop local this holiday season at Pentalpha Jewelry, located at 2903 Appalachia Parkway, where they've always been.
In 1788, Robert Burns wrote a poem to herald the coming of the new year and set the lyrics to an old Scottish tune. The little song became quite popular as the words recalled the days gone by. bidding farewell to the old and welcoming the new. Band leader Guy Lombardo is often credited with popularizing the use of the song at New Year's celebrations in America. Through his annual broadcasts on radio and television beginning in 1929, the song became his trademark. This New Year's Eve, millions will gather across the world in celebration and at the stroke of midnight, join together in singing Old Lang Syne.
Wishing you all the best in the new year from Whitten Glass on South Monroe since 1945. For window and plate glass, custom bath enclosures, and storefront glass, 850-222-5781. Tony Kelly Heating and Air Conditioning for the best in service, installation, and year-round comfort. Online at TonyKellyInc.com or call 850-385-3774.
Tallahassee's 30-year-old funny paper and American Legion Post 13 have joined forces to become Major Morale. The new magazine has 4 more pages of post activities and military information that you probably never knew. But don't worry, it's still as politically correct and newsworthy as always. Okay, it's the same funny stuff, but it's still only available at the sponsors' locations like ABC Flooring, Tallahassee Automobile Museum, Krispy Kreme, or Keith Lawson Services, providing professional services and maintenance for your home's most critical systems for over 39 years. If you need air conditioning, heating, or plumbing repairs, you will receive an upfront written quote, and the job will be done on time by the area's most advanced, highly trained professionals. Keith Lawson Services, Florida license CMC 125456 and CFC 1429-197.
While retinitis pigmentosa takes Mark's vision, his family gives him hope, whether at the family business or at home with his wife and sons. He knows he's not fighting alone. For 50 years, the Foundation Fighting Blindness has funded research into treatments and cures for blinding retinal diseases, providing hope to people with vision loss. And for Mark, winning the fight means being there for his family. The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
Retired or retiring soon? How much money do you need to live comfortably? Retirement Planners of America is here for you. Would you like to have financial peace of mind? Here's how. Step 1. Find out the amount of money you'll need to retire. Step 2. Have a plan to get there. Step 3. Make sure that plan can take advantage of market gains but protect you from market losses. Discover how to do all 3 with a free consultation at 800-508-6108. That's 800-508-6108.
All investments involve risk, including losses. Past performance does not guarantee future results.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Man, I got to tell you, Tom, it's cool when you start a tradition around the holidays that then affects your brain when you've done it, 5, 6, 7, 8 years in a row. I'll give a plug here locally. Uptown does smoked salmon. Buddy, I love me some smoked salmon. The way they do it. And we always get it for New Year's. And you can get it at other places, not just Uptown, but you can get it, like they have it at the Southern Seafood Place and all that. My brain today, off and on, mind's eye, just flashing smoked salmon at me. The way I used to do when I would drive past the old Circle K's and I would see a can of dip when I was an addict. I would drive past any gas station and, don't you want to stop in and get you a dip, Jeff? That's how my brain worked over and over again. And when I was trying to stop, it was the worst. I would just be driving down Monroe. Ooh, keep going, Jeff, keep going. But another gas station. Ooh, keep going. That was me over and over and over again. My brain, hey, man, they got dip in there. I do. I know that. You should stop and see what kind. It's how my brain worked forever. Now it doesn't. Now I can just drive past a gas station. I never even think about dip at all. In fact, I don't want to stop at the gas station. But that's what I have.
Well, who does?
Yeah. But today, woke up. Gotta get the smoked salmon. Because it's a New Year's Eve tradition. Big ass smoked salmon. It's the best. And just now during the commercial break, for no reason, right when we were about to come back on the air, I saw the smoked salmon. My mind's eye said, there it is. There is your smoked salmon, Jeff, and it's delicious. Don't forget to get some on your way home.
How do you feel
about smoked salmon?
No, I know how you feel about smoked salmon. How do you feel about going to the drugstore?
I don't think anybody calls it the drugstore anymore.
Well,
it's not the 1950s.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the chemist is what my grandmother would call it. The chemist. Yeah.
Was that code for the meth dealer?
No, I mean, that's what they were called. Pharmacies were called, chemists.
Go to the chemist?
Yeah. They still are in Rockaway.
So you're talking like the old Eckards, but is now CVS or whatever?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Yeah. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I get asked
the
to go there a
grocery
lot.
store. The grocery store you're all about.
Oh,
right?
I can't wait. I'm a grocery store going fool. If you need something from the grocery store, give me a call. I'll go to the grocery store. I love it.
But the drugstore is its own thing.
It feels like a lesser than the drugstore does. You feel like I'm probably going to run into some shaky people here in the drugstore.
It's for, I forgot their birthday, or I forgot this Christmas gift. I got to go get a bottle of Pinot Grigio because I got to make sure that somebody's taken care of.
A sorry bottle of Pinot Grigio if you're getting it from the CVS.
I got no options. It's a holiday.
Yeah.
And it's usually on the holiday itself. Oh, I left the wine on the counter back home, and I'm in Palm Harbor. We got to have something. Where are we going to go? Everything's closed.
Yeah.
Go to the drugstore. Would you rather, if I could say that you don't have to go to one or the other ever again, fill up your tank of gas or the drugstore?
Which tank of gas for sure. I hate getting gas.
Okay.
Hate it.
So you would
it
eliminate.
Infuriates me. Thinking about it pisses me off.
You would eliminate the gas.
Yes, always. It's the worst. When I look down at my needle and see that it's low, I'm like, son of a bitch. I'm so mad. Oh.
Oh man.
No, I get
We've got the greatest Blue Chew commercial ever.
When I look down at my needle and see that it's low, I get something. Blue Chew. Oh man. No,
the whiskey got me again.
No, I hate getting gas, and I don't know why. I just and I have for years. It's it's to
Do
the
you
point.
like the tab or the no tab? If it doesn't have the tab, do you get mad, or do you,
you mean,
even use it?
What do you mean
Meaning it holds. So
it holds it so you don't have to hold it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get mad when they don't have one that works. I want
And I feel like it's 1 out of 4 that
they mostly don't work.
The card reader doesn't work. Yeah.
It's a lot like the McDonald's
cashier.
ice cream machine that doesn't serve cones.
See cashier. No, man.
No,
I'm not.
I didn't come here to see the cashier. I don't want to see the cashier. I don't even want to get gas, but I have to. Yeah. No, there's never, not even like Buc-ee's or any of those places, the Busy Bee. Like my wife is always like so excited. Let's stop in here, but why? Why do we got to go in here with all these losers? I don't want to do this.
Those places are all overrated unless you have to use the bathroom for real.
Oh,
I don't see the benefit.
Yeah, right. Because they have the doors and they're clean and all that. Yeah,
I mean, they're immaculate.
Yeah.
They are immaculate. Yeah. And it is a wonder. If you're interested in watching an ant farm of humanity, yes, then go. Then go. Because there's a crazy amount of efficiency in the operation.
I'm saddened. I'm always saddened. I leave there sad.
It's just the idea of back in the 90s. Hey, why don't we go to the mall on Christmas Eve? How about we don't?
Yeah, no, not the mall. No.
Let's go to a bookstore if we really need to go get something.
I like that, yeah.
Why would you want to go to the most crowded place on earth?
I do miss the excitement and the sounds of walking into Aladdin's castle. Yeah. Like this all the lights and the sounds of the arcade. I did love walking into any mall in America because the arcade was always right next to the open.
Yes, it was.
As soon as you walk in, you're like, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about.
Countryside Mall, I believe it was the Enterprise Road entrance for the Aladdin's castle on the right, first floor.
You know, live spectator, I haven't, by the way, sorry, Tom, but the Wawas they're sprouting up everywhere.
Legit.
Have you had their food yet?
Yeah.
I have not. I've never had anything from a Wawa that I'm aware of.
The subs, fantastic.
Really?
And it's not overcrowded like the aforementioned places. It is the proper balance.
What makes their sub special?
It's like your friends over on Capitol Circle.
Oh, yes, that family.
Yeah, the ingredients are
quality, fresh.
Quality.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Now the payment system always trips me up. I think you have to go pay while they make it. So it is efficient in that sense, but people, they don't really tell you that. So you go get the barcode to pay for it, and you got to go walk up to the cashier.
I do like the efficient operation is the way it sounds here.
So you have a touchscreen tablet, you go boop, 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 and whatever toppings you want on all your stuff. They're on their way. Now they're working on it. You got to take the ticket up to the register, pay, and then they'll call your name. And it's a pretty quick process. It's never as crowded as those other places. Yeah.
Also, if you get anything from those other places, every time you finish eating it, you feel like you're going to die.
Oh, yeah.
If you get that pork sandwich thing that they have and you eat that, you're like, oh, this is a great idea. Then you have one, you're like, I'm going to die.
We did a straight shot drive to New York this time last year for the move and stopped at, I think it was a Buc-ee's overnight when we were trading off naps. That was a bad idea. Barely made it into the door up in New York because I didn't want to stop anywhere else. I'm not stopping in Rhode Island. I'm not stopping in Jersey. Hell no, I'm not stopping in Jersey.
No.
That's a good call.
All right. While it is, then you've got me. Maybe they'll advertise with us in the new year because we just gave them some free love. I'll get back on track here, gang. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Your local news now.
The McCullough County Sheriff's Office confirmed that fatal gunfire in South Choppy last Saturday was a result of an officer-involved shooting. Ollie Denson Rogers, 62, was shot and killed after an hours-long standoff with WCSO in the Leon County Sheriff's Office. WCSO said they couldn't release any details about the circumstances leading to the fatal incident because the Florida Department of Law Enforcement is investigating the use of force. More details will be released as they become available. FDLE is often called to investigate officer-involved shootings for local agencies at their request. WCSO initially responded to a call for service regarding a female armed with a handgun and making suicidal threats. When deputies arrived, the female fired a long gun into the air and retreated back into the home. The armed woman had barricaded herself in a home on the 300 block of Farms Road, prompting the call to LCSO for help. This is Rachel and A with your Real Talk 93.3 local news update, brought to you by Macklemore Systems, Tallahassee's go-to Mac store. Check them out online at MacklemoreSystems.com.
Now, here's your Paul's Termite and Pest Control Tallahassee weather report.
Sunshine returns and temperatures are staying comfortably mild with highs in the 70s and lows in the 40s and 50s. A cool down ahead to start off the new year with highs in the 60s and lows in the 30s and 40s. Tonight, partly cloudy, low of 53. Tuesday, partly sunny with a high of 77, low of 46. Wednesday, sunny with a high of 62. From Real Talk 93.3, this is Danielle Kelly.
For the elimination of termites, pest, and for a greener lawn too, call Paul's. They'll get them all.
Did you know that the survivability of a metal roof far exceeds that of a traditional shingle roof? At Metal Roofing Sales of Tallahassee, we have new state-of-the-art roll formers that produce the highest quality Versa panel, PBR panel, and standing seam options. And we will guarantee to match or beat any local competitor's pricing. We're a family-owned business ready to offer you the best sales and installation service in the area. And don't forget about our veterans and first responders discounts. Call Metal Roofing Sales today, 850-536-9123, or visit us online at metalroofing.net.
Hey, you've definitely had a busy month. Finding gifts, sending cards, hosting family. Well, now it's time to treat yourself at Macy's After Christmas Sale. Come and find great deals on something just for you. Like 25% off New Year's party looks from DKNY, Adriana Papel, and more. So enjoy the week and get yourself the gifts you really wanted before these limited time deals are over. At Macy's After Christmas Sale. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Sometimes I struggle to get to sleep. My body stopped for the day, but my mind is still running. So I take ZQuil.
ZQuil, the world's #1 sleep aid brand, has a range of non-habit forming products to fit you and your family's needs. Invest in a great night's sleep for the best you tomorrow.
I'm awake and ready to take on anything.
Better days start with ZQuil nights. Explore our products at ZQuil.com. Use as directed. Keep out of reach of children.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Good news. If you've been waiting on linebackers, I'm always wanting to hear about linebackers. Not as much as I want to hear about offensive linemen that are in the portal and making their way here. But nonetheless, it's been a minute. Looks like, and according to NACOS, this is correct, and I've heard this buzz for the last 48 hours, looks like Florida State may end up getting the services of North Carolina linebacker Caleb Labelli, and that would be big. He's a good player, and so I'm kind of excited about the idea of that. He also has a brother that can really play, so I think Florida State is in play for him and his brother.
Sounds good.
Let's go. He is taking a visit. By the way, he told Warchant earlier that he is talking to Colorado, Indiana, Nebraska, and Ole Miss about his services, but I know that there is thought that he ends up here. Come on, linebackers. Let's go. Get your ass in here. Florida State has released a statement in regards to the story I read to open the show. This is what Florida State had to say about the legal complaint filed in Leon County Circuit Court this morning. Since the beginning of the name, image, and likeness era of collegiate athletics, FSU has maintained a comprehensive compliance education program for coaches and other athletics staff, and a clear expectation of ethical conduct by all dealing with student athletes. Upon learning recently of the allegations made by former men's basketball athletes, the university has worked diligently to determine what transpired last season. Though our inquiry is not yet complete, at this point, we know of no unfulfilled commitments by FSU in terms of scholarships or other appropriate benefits, or the Rising Spear Collective relative to NIL payments owed to athletes. We support Coach Hamilton's right to defend himself against these allegations and look forward to an expedient resolution of this matter. That was the release from Florida State. Okay. I'm going to tell you that sounds like he's done.
You think so?
Mm-hmm.
Well, look, wasn't he already in a position where, age was getting to a place and the contract status was getting to a place where
this appeared to be his final year either way.
Yeah.
Sad ending. I would, I'll wait to learn more.
I don't think he intentionally screwed kids.
I don't.
$250,000 a piece.
Either do I, but it's not going to matter.
Well, yeah, I hear you there. To me, it does.
It matters in the way that you view Leonard, sure.
Yeah, because I would need to see a lot of evidence for me to change my opinion of who he is. Put it that way.
Well, again, I think that this was the inability to navigate this new space. I think this is a mistake. I think this is perhaps trusting where he shouldn't have. I don't know that. It's my opinion.
Yeah,
I don't know that.
Yeah. I just mean, I don't believe him to be.
No,
the way the article reads, somebody. Like, man, did he just maliciously rob kids of opportunities? I don't buy that.
No, I think that there was a belief on his part that the funds were there. I don't know why he thought that or who was going to provide that, or I don't know the details of that. But this is what it sounds like to me. It sounds like a guy who's at the end of his career, 76 years old, trying to navigate the NIL space and made a mistake somehow, and probably, in my mind, certainly was fighting hard to rectify that, and just it never happened for whatever reason. Well, we don't know. I don't know. It's probably unfair of me to speculate, but given what I know Leonard to be as a man and the character that he possesses, yes, I agree with you. I don't think he intentionally misled or duped anybody. I think a mistake was made, and now, sadly, this may end up, staining his legacy, if you will, in the eyes of many people.
Right. If you want to dedicate a court to him or something along those lines, this doesn't
make lend itself. It doesn't lend itself for that, does it?
No, and he should have that.
Yeah. But back to the other piece of news, which is the North Carolina linebacker, the Lavallee, I think is how you say his name. That kid. I'm excited about that. This was a guy that it's pretty funny, by the way. I know you and I saw a certain tweet that went out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was hilarious because it was somebody posting about how good he was going to be. And 2 hours after that was posted, his name was in the portal. I was like, oh, that'll hurt your feelings if you're North Carolina. You're a fan.
It's going to be fascinating to see how this thing is built. What the two deep is going to look like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Mike Norvell bumped kids off of starting lines and upgraded kids throughout the season on the depth chart, and he said depth charts don't matter.
Yeah,
well,
they kind of do.
You keep changing them, so they matter to somebody, unless you're not changing them and somebody else is just plugging in names without even thinking about it. But this year, the depth chart, really fascinating because on defense specifically, you have different positions.
Yeah, we're going to work to find out. I mean, part of what's going to go on in spring isn't just like who's manning what position, like you're describing without question. It's also going to be, how does this work?
Right.
What are the intricacies of this?
positions?
Yeah, what do we do here? I mean, I know in general what the 3-3-5 is and does and how it can work. And we've seen it. Lots of teams use it. It's not like this is solely unique to what Coach White does with Nebraska. Now here, I talked about the Rocky Long stuff and all of that. We've seen it at Syracuse. We've seen it at several places. It was just on display in a bowl game that I was watching. So they ran a 3-3-5. I can't remember who it was. But the point is, they're not 100% married to the idea of 3 down linemen. You routinely see 4 down linemen.
For sure. It's just a matter of when you think about 3-3-5 and you break it down. And I've done some of that for the weekly feature a couple of years ago. I did a Syracuse.
Yeah, I remember it. Yeah.
You look for tendencies and you look for trends as a group of 11 or maybe as a segment group. Here's what the front looks like. Here's what the second level is going to be responsible for. But specific individual rules for each position. That's going to be what's fascinating to me. If you're the backer on the strong side in a 3-3-5, what are you responsible for relative to the guy who's on the weak side versus a 4-3 or a 4-2-5? Like, what are your rules? What are your principles? Where are your leverages? All those kinds of things. We're going to get those answers because we get fantastic access to these coaches.
Also, you'll see off of that, you'll see the stack, the 33 stack. You'll see, I basically having an extra defensive back in there, just a nickel back, if you will, but like watching where these guys align, what kind of player does he have to be?
Yeah.
Is that a strong safety, free safety type? What kind of player does he have to be? Well, he has to be somebody who's willing to put their head in there, stick their head in there, get after, come up and help in the run game. You got to be willing to, you can't turn it down. We had some guys turn it down.
Well, yeah. Okay. So if you think about a 3-4, like old school 3-4, there's still variations of 3-4 at the NFL level. The interior linebacker in a 3-4 looks drastically different than a Mike in a 4-3 Tampa 2 scheme.
Yeah.
Right? Like the Mike in a 4-3 Tampa 2 scheme has to be athletic enough to drop back and take.
He's got to fly.
He's got to be able to fly.
Mm-hmm. That's why Derek Brooks was so good at it.
Right. Derek Brooks looks different than Ray Lewis.
Yes, he does.
Right. Looks different than, give me somebody else. Terrell Suggs,
Right.
That they're all linebackers, but they have very different functions.
Well, it'll be fun for me just to see the 3 linebackers again out on the field, right? I mean,
so yeah, Navarro Bowman, Derek Brooks, probably the best example of different body types that you can get. Or Devin White, Derek Brooks. There you go. There's an even better example.
Yeah.
Well, of the 3 linebackers that we run out there in a base, who is supposed to look like what? Are we supposed to have a stocky guy that's 5'11", 220, and then we need a couple of essentially hybrid type strong safety players like a Jamie Robinson?
Right.
What's that going to look like ideally? And what do you want? These are all fun questions that we get to, explore together because they won't have the ideal roster that they're looking for this year anyway. So you might not even get the fully formed Tony White defense this season. You might get some variety.
Some hybrid of it. Well, we see 3-3-5 morph into a 4-3, into a 3-4, into a 4-4. Right. We see all that all the time. And they call it the front 8, by the way. We'll hear it referred to as that, the front 8 players closest to the line of scrimmage, right? So you'll hear, well, all of those guys, generally speaking, when you're talking about a 3-3-5, people think, well, smaller teams do this. But you got to have really tough kids. You got to have really, like, that group has to love to tackle, has to be, come up and hit you.
Yeah, swarming. The best 3-3-5s are a swarm. And again, it's not altogether that different 4-2-5. I mean, you still have 5 defensive backs out there, so I'm sure a lot of the defensive backs are going to look the same, and their roles are going to be relatively similar. But yeah, just the idea of the angles you take, the responsibilities you have. Are you supposed to be a guy who covers, or are you supposed to be somebody who can blow up the point of attack? How are you going to build it? And this kid is one more piece of the puzzle. The Thompson kid they got from Nebraska is one piece. Darrell Jackson obviously was a big retention cog in the wheel for them.
That was huge. That really was huge. And we talked about that last week, but that was a big deal. You still want to see maybe one more? up front come in here so you have some real quality depth? Without question.
Yeah.
Got to get another guy.
Well, I mean, and James Williams isn't exactly, again, your stocky Jared Verse build. He's 6'5" and he's 220 or 230. Like he's thinner, but you need him to be more agile, clearly. And now you're going to have somebody set the edge on the other side of it.
What's going to be interesting is that, whenever you run, no matter what you run something that takes away something and gives up something. And, we say this all the time, like, what is the defense trying to take away? And what is it that they're susceptible to? So a lot of that has to do also with how athletic your personnel is, like you were just describing. But, the short intermediate throws are something that can attack a 3-3-5. Well, that's fine if you're keeping everything in front of you. And that way it won't be much different than what Adam Fuller was attempting to do. The problem I always had was I got the idea of what you're trying to do. You don't care about yards between the 20s. You're like, okay, fine. You can have that 80-yard space all you want. I care mostly about red zone stops and holding you to field goals. And I'm not going to get beat with the big play over top. The problem was they routinely gave up chunk plays despite running that kind of defense because they couldn't pass off people and they didn't communicate.
Yeah, this defense, you have to really know everything when it comes to your gaps, your leverages, your communications. I mean, if you're more competent with the athletes that we have, you're just by nature going to be more explosive. But the thing is, at least from my recollection of the Rocky Long 3-3-5 and just looking at a little bit of the basic stats from Nebraska, you want explosive negative plays. You want on your own.
Oh, and you
side.
want to be able to bring pressure from all over.
You want it to be different. It's watching what Green Bay did yesterday, and it's not the exact same thing, but Green Bay's job defensively was to confuse the hell out of what Minnesota was trying to do offensively, and you could see a couple of times they got him. Who is blitzing? Who's rushing? Who's not? I'd love to see a college quarterback have to deal with that week in and week out. Yeah, bring it on.
I can't wait to just see an entirely different mindset. That frustrated me most. I mean, obviously, when we had a bunch of NFL players who could neutralize a front, an offensive line, then everything worked. And when you're playing bad quarterbacks in this league and you had those NFL players who could dominate the line of scrimmage, you made them one-dimensional immediately, and you had dudes that are playing now in the league roving around making plays. But short of that, I never felt like Adam got the most out of players who were not NFL players, right? You didn't see a lot of guys put in positions to succeed relative to their skill set, right? If they weren't otherworldly, they didn't make plays. And it was so frustrating to watch what I thought was passivity and what frequently did not feel like a defense attacking. And so when Coach White's press conference happened and he talked about attacking offenses, that the way we view defense is that you're attacking aspects of offense and that you want to play, obviously, very aggressive and you want to be tough. Well, you can't fake toughness, so that begins in practice, quote unquote. He said that. I thought, okay, we're probably going to see a much different looking spring and a much different looking practice in general because you're going to have to create that. And you're also going to watch the players that came over from Nebraska and anybody that's run in this system before really doing a lot of teaching come spring. That'll be fascinating.
Yeah, that's a big part of it is how vanilla do you keep it in spring? Do you throw everything at them and see what sticks? I mean, you got some decisions philosophically that you're going to have to make here about how much do you want to put on their plate. And do you want to start with little to nothing? And let's run our base 3 or 4, things. And you could do this on the offense too. Now, I know Gus's system isn't exactly going to be like Jimbo's offense where you have a playbook that's larger than NFL playbooks, but that's a decision that you're going to have to make going into camp because unfortunately, if you were in a bowl scenario, you probably could start installing some of those concepts and get the jump on it.
Yeah, you could.
You don't have that here. You do have expanded time with players, and you could go over concepts with underwear football. But when you get to practice, that'll be an interesting question for the coordinators, for Mike Norvell. How much are you going to give them to handle in spring? If you do a showcase, what are we seeing? What are we seeing relative to the final product?
Would you even want to do a showcase when you're implementing all the new that we're describing? I don't even know that you would because there's a chance you could look terrible. No,
you need every dollar you can get, right?
But on the heels of 2 and 10, you're like, here we are.
Are you in a position to turn down $100,000 or $200,000 if you can make it?
No, you're gonna do it. You're gonna have it, but I would have that be very controlled, Tom. That would be very controlled.
Oh, well, if it's the same as the other showcases, it's Very controlled.
I'm going to be very curious to see, because listen, if you're trying to run this offense and you're going to run your quarterback, don't you have to run him in practice? Don't you have to run him? Don't you have to run this at full speed at some point?
Yeah, with a green jersey, you're not going to hit him. I mean, if he was a freshman, sure. Castellanos played a lot of football. I don't think you need to make him live.
I think it's just for the sake of the other players involved. You
can't make him live. I don't think you can.
Well, you can get another quarterback in the portal, and then all bets are off. Let's go. Let's go. Bring in another guy.
I'm all for it. This is
compete.
funny.
I want him to compete.
Everything leading up to the quarterback being live, I'm in on. You can make every single player on the field live except the quarterback. That dude gets hurt. Second week of spring camp, and he's got a leg injury. You're like, he's done for the season. Oh, no. Can't have it.
Bring in two more. Keep bringing them in. Let's go. We're going to ratchet this thing up. We were soft as tissue paper last year. Let's go. We're hitting left and right. No, I hear you. I think that there will be elements, though, that are live. I mean, those scrimmages will be pretty interesting because you got to run it at full speed. You got to see what it is, for the running backs, for the linemen, everybody.
Yeah, well, for the linebackers, my angles.
All of that, you know. I'd like to think just by the virtue of the fact that you're going to have to that they are going to run the ball, that he's always run the ball, and he's run the ball successfully, even with unsuccessful campaigns. They've run the ball well. So to me, oftentimes defenses are very good at stopping what they see every day. Well, what they're going to see every day is a lot more centered around the run game. I'd love to believe that translates nicely to a defense that could stop the run.
What'll be interesting to me too is how it translates with Josh Storm's side of the operation. I mean, are what we see in the tour of duty his drills? Are they his, or are they a combination of he and the coaching staff? Because you can at least get something done in mat drills, quote unquote, maybe to help you speed up the install, where eyes need to be, what physical, skill sets you need to have refined before you put the pads on. Could the tour of duty look different? Could you get it down to that granular level? Interesting.
The operation was said to have been thoroughly scoured, adjustments made. So I hope we see thorough adjustments where we're going, oh, that's new. I like this. That's different. Okay, there we go. Hope that's the case. Good work out of you. We'll have a show for you tomorrow. We will record that show in the morning, but it will be fresh content, and then we will take off like everybody else into the evening and the next day and all that good stuff. Then we'll be back with you on Thursday. Until then, peace.